Okay, Israel, I hope everybody is doing well again this Monday evening. Shout out Kyle Cobb and his congregation in Guatemala. Shout out Stream of Wisdom Kazaki in Virginia, Quatazop in Houston, Texas, and Zion Allah in Rochester, New York. Hope everybody's doing well today. We just got through our Heart and Hearts series. The series that dealt with that negative outlook and how detrimental it is with our relationship with the Heavenly Father. And today we're changing everything up, and we're going to be going into the process of obtaining the kingdom. And we haven't gone over a kingdom class in a very long time, and this is going to be a series of classes about the kingdom. You know, it started off with writing about just certain aspects of what's going to happen at the end, and it just morphed into more than that. So be patient with us. It's going to be a few weeks on this topic, but what we're trying to do is to sequence the events at the end as clearly and as chronologically accurate as possible. That's the goal. That's the focus. So just be patient with us as we go into that. If there are questions, if we're going too fast, raise your hand. There's no silly, bad, unintelligent answer. So with that being said, questions. So with that being said, the first verse we're going to go into in today's topic is Ecclesiasticus in the Apocrypha, chapter 10. Did you explain what the Apocrypha was already?
Yeah, I already broke down 1611.
Thank you, sir. Okay, so it is a part of the Bible that was taken out over different captivities and so forth and so on. Ecclesiasticus chapter 10 and verse 4 and verse 8.
Officers, what page is it?
Page 75.
All right, man, announce the page if we get to that book, because that way we can, find the books at a good pace.
And then
take this as well.
There you go.
So he's got to get one, so he can show the page.
Okay, so once again, we're going to be doing Ecclesiasticus chapter 10, verse 4 and verse 8.
Go. Ecclesiastes chapter 10 and verse 4. The power of the earth is in the hand of the Lord.
This is what we have to understand. So regardless of how wicked or how corrupt a society is, a kingdom is, a nation is, it's still in the hands of the Most High. The Most High, the Lord, controls all of the decisions and the actions of the people in power. What we're going to read in these chapters today, and we've gone over this numerous times in the Sabbath classes, is a reoccurring theme that the Most High deals geopolitically with the world. Okay? He deals with nations, empires, kingdoms, regimes, and the elites and the people in positions of power. He judges them and he holds them to a certain standard.
So the Most High rules in the kingdom of men.
He rules in the kingdom of men. He has power on earth. And what's happening is what we're about to see. We're going to the end of the times, the end of this earth, the end of society is based upon the Most High's judgment of everybody's activity and conduct. From the time of Israel and our power, during the time of David and Solomon, until we get to the time of Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylonian Empire, King Cyrus, the king of the Persian Mede Empire, Alexander the Great, all the Roman Caesars, Augustus, Julius Caesar, Augustus Caesar, Tiberius, so forth and so on.
So you're saying the Egyptians were judged, the Pharaohs were judged, the Romans were
All
judged,
the empires were judged. All the empires and the empires, specifically the nations from the top down.
Yes, sir.
And the Most High is in control. And when you look at the entire world and the entire time, every nation on earth has had their opportunity to flourish, to be in power, to have their run on top.
And you expressed that in previous breakdowns in the book of Daniel. You went in the book of Daniel and broke down the statute, how it was the times. It was Persian society, Babylonian, Egyptian, Roman, all the way this time period. Okay.
So with that being said, read verse 4 again.
Ecclesiastes 10 and 4. The power of the earth is in the hand of the Lord, and in due time he will set over it one that is profitable.
He said, when the time is right, he's going to set up one person that is profitable or worthy to run the earth. Okay. Now we're going to sit back down the line and realize that one that's profitable is Christ. But everybody has to run their course, and every empire has to have an opportunity of rulership until somebody proves that they're worthy of being put in that position. And what are the criterias to show if a person is unworthy of the position that the Lord gave them?
You're saying human leadership.
Human leadership, national sovereignty. Because when you're sitting back here and dealing with how the Lord is going to change the world, when you sit back and when your person talks about the kingdom of heaven, the kingdom of heaven is really a regime change of people that's in control now, and their power and their authority is going to be translated to another government. Now, when you sit back and read in the book of Genesis, from the beginning time when they had Adam, you had Seth, and you had all the individuals that were under Adam's lineage. When you read in different history books, that lineage is even explained as the government of Adam. So even from the beginning, the leadership was based upon the government of Adam's people. Then it just was translated from Adam's people
to his descendants.
To his descendants. And then after that, that power went to Egypt. And then that power went from Egypt and was translated to us. Different kingdoms had different rises over time. So let me get to verse 8 real quick to explain what are the things that you cannot do if you want to maintain power, rulership, and authority. Read verse 8.
Ecclesiastes 10 and verse 8. Because of unrighteous dealings, injuries.
Unrighteous dealings and injuries. When we sit back here, when the powers that be create policies and endeavors that injure people, that take advantage of people, every single regime and nation that's been in power has fallen victim to this process. Read it from the top again.
Because of unrighteous dealings, injuries, and riches got by deceit.
Unrighteous dealings, injuries, riches got by deceit. Read on.
The kingdom is translated from one people to another.
Sovereignty, power, position of authority, is translated from one nation to another based upon a nation's conduct, how negatively they treat the people around them, how they injure the poor, how they set up policies to injure and fraud the poor of the earth.
I get that.
So what's happening is, whether it was the Greek Empire, fell the same way. When they stopped operating honorably to the people that they had jurisdiction over, the Most High removed them. Same thing with Rome, same thing with our people, same thing with the Babylonians and the Persians. It's the same process in which a nation falls. So when we get to the end times coming up now, it's the same reason of unrighteous dealings, riches gotten by deceit. If we sit back here and look at America right now, all of these countries are starting to gain a little bit more power, and they're kicking these nations out of their country, whether it's Burkina Faso in Africa, whether you have Maduro in Venezuela. I can't even say the same thing about the guy in Brazil, because he's playing both sides, and Argentina also. But other countries are fighting to push out imperialistic influence out of their country.
Colonization.
It's not necessarily. And that was an 1800s world.
Yeah.
So it's more like democratic policy that is getting in the way of each country's sovereignty and own smaller individual power. I'm going to get to my point. I just want to kind of set the tone before we go any further, because this is just the beginning. So what's happening is, how do you know a nation is falling? It's based upon how bad the injuries to the people that they have power over has become. People want to sit back and talk about the immigration issue. I don't know if y'all saw on Twitter, there is this Levite man walking around with a goose in his hand, a dead goose in his hand. This guy sat, you know those local ponds There's geese.
Yeah.
That's for the people to like give bread
See,
to.
yeah,
And,
yeah.
hey, look at the baby goose.
That's food for
This
them.
Levite sat back here, strangled the goose, and was walking home down the street with a goose in his hand. And they said, "This America is immigration. This is what immigration gets you." I'm like, damn.
Yeah.
Now listen. They have a point.
Yeah.
But why is this Haitian man leaving home? Why doesn't he want to stay in Haiti? Who's had their hand in that country, destroying the country and making the country poor and subservient to the United States?
Yeah.
It was America in the first place that created the conditions so bad that they want to get out of there.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to talk about that though. So why am I bringing this up? It's an example of unrighteous dealings. America has their hands in all these different countries, setting up the puppet strings, taking out the natural resources, giving sweetheart deals to the presidents of those lands while corrupting or weakening and making the conditions unlivable. Whether it's Mexico. The presidents and the leaders of Mexico are rich beyond comparison. The people are broke. People have nothing out of all the hours and hours of sacrifice and determination. They have nothing. This is why they come up to America. Listen, people want to sit back here and say the so-called Hispanics need to stay in their country. Well, if they're gonna stay in their country, why doesn't a United States policy leave their country?
Yeah.
If they do that, then the so-called Hispanic man will have a chance to survive and thrive, and they don't want to come to America and roll with the gringos. There is a reason why. Policy is forcing people out of here. Yes, sir.
And making a quick point. These countries that are smaller countries are not allowed to nationalize their resources.
Well, that's the point.
And so
To nationalize their resource means all the natural resources that Mexico has. This is what they do. I'm going to use Burkina Faso and all their gold mines that are in Africa. France and Britain had power and control over the gold mines in Africa. Burkina Faso and his men said, "Y'all get out." Right? So then they said, "Okay, Britain, we want to mine our own gold mines." Guess what Britain said? What did Britain tell Burkina? Well, since you don't want to work with us, then we can't lease our machines to you.
Yep.
We can't lease. We're not going to lease our mining equipment to you, so you can dig your own gold and mine your own resources and become independent and self-sufficient. This is what has been happening. Venezuela, Mexico, Central, South America. It's the same game. The powers that be have the control over resources, and they have control over the manufacturing of these resources. And they're not going to let the poor countries ever get a hold of the manufacturing equipment to become self-sufficient.
or have a fair deal. You have children going in cobalt mines,
Yeah.
and these children are going to these cobalt mines, these little holes, and they're working for 12, 14 hours a day, getting the cobalt,
For scraps.
but they're doing it for nothing.
Yeah.
This is just the
In
Chinese do
different
it.
countries, because in every country, now there's a race for lithium.
Yep.
Cobalt is always an oil fight.
And resource come.
Gold, natural resources. There was a reason the Clintons were in Haiti 15, 20 years ago after the earthquake. Because once the earthquake hit, they found all these massive reserves of gold. Did the Haitian people touch any of that gold?
No.
Nope.
They didn't see that damn gold. This is why they can't even get running water in their city. And the water that they drink is contaminated. Now you wonder why they come into the States. Anyway, so with all that being said, read verse 8 again.
Ecclesiastes 10 and 8. Because of unrighteous dealings, injuries, and riches got by deceit, the kingdom is translated from one people to another.
And this is how you know the signs are coming, that the kingdom, the power and the sovereignty, that is what the kingdom is. People think the kingdom is this mystical situation. The kingdom is a transference of power, rulership, and authority. So what the Lord is saying is because of all the wickedness that has been established by the United States and their allies, NATO and everybody that flows under their banner, this kingdom is on the way down. So it's letting you know Even you can tell the downfall of this place is by morally how the nation has decreased and diminished morally. Rapidly. So listen, this place used to at least on the surface God-fearing. They used to be on the surface God-fearing while they sat back here and destroyed and pillaged every country around them. Now they're still destroying and pillaging under the guise of propaganda and democracy. But then all of a sudden, the Most High is not pushed, preached, taught at all. They've removed the Most High out of all elements of life. That's how you know the society is plummeting, the country is decaying, which lesson of the kingdom is about to get translated or transferred to someone else. Now we have to find out who that else is. Let this go. Go to 2nd Ezra chapter 6, verse 7 and 8.
Come.
2nd Ezra chapter 6, verse 7 and 8.
Come.
Hold on, make sure everybody get it.
Page 20.
2nd Ezra. When you sit back and see Esdras, that's the Greek spelling for the word Ezra, the prophet Ezra that you read in the Bible. You read about Ezra and then Nehemiah during the Israelite construction period in the 400 BC time. You might want to go up there if you need the system needs it. So, when you read Esdras, you're reading Ezra. Okay? Now read that.
God. 2nd Ezra chapter 6 and verse 7 reads, Then answered I, and said, What shall be the parting asunder of the times?
Ezra is asking the angel, what's going to be the sign that time is shifting? That we're going to be switching from one kingdom to another? What's going to be the sign that lets everybody know a significant change is coming? Read on.
Or when shall be the end of the first?
So Ezra is like, how are we as people, layman people, going to know when the end of times is coming? When the end of the first terrestrial life is ending, and the new kingdom or the new life is coming afterwards. This is what Ezra is asking the angel. Read on.
And the beginning of it that follows.
So Ezra wants to know, what's the beginning of the kingdom? When is the beginning of the kingdom coming? The kingdom of the Lord. Read on.
Verse 8. And he said unto me, From Abraham unto Isaac, when Jacob and Esau were born of him, Jacob's hand held first the heel of Esau.
Hold this. Give me Ecclesiastes in the Bible, 3 and 15. Yeah. Ecclesiastes in the Bible, 3 and 15. We're going to go back here, but I have to explain this properly. Ecclesiastes chapter 3 and verse 15.
Gotcha. Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verse 15.
Almost there. Yeah, I'll read that.
Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verse 15. That which hath been is now.
The things that happened in the past, the patterns, the ways that happened in the ancient times, the same patterns are now. Read on.
And that which is to be hath already been.
The stuff that's going to happen, the way in which it happens in the past, the way in which it happened in the past is the same way it's going to happen in the future. This is going to happen. This is going to explain a lot of different sequences that happens in the end time. All the things that happened in the scriptures in the past, that same way that it happened is going to be the same way it happens when the end comes, when the kingdom time comes. With that being etched on our mind, read verse 8 again.
Come.
If I'm going too fast, let me know. Okay, read that.
2nd Ezra chapter 6 and verse 8 reads, And he said unto me, From Abraham unto Isaac.
From Abraham all the way to Isaac, that lineage. That's a holy lineage. That's the lineage of the Jew, of the so-called Negro, the so-called Mexican, the so-called West Indian, the indigenous people of North, Central, and South America. This is your lineage. From Abraham, Isaac, Jacob. Okay, the patriarchs. That's your family line. Read that.
When Jacob and Esau were born of him.
Now listen, Abraham and Isaac. Isaac had twins. Isaac had Jacob and he had Esau. Okay, when you read about Jacob, Jacob was a smooth man, and his color tone and his skin color was similar to his father Isaac, as it wasn't spoken of. When we have more time, we'll go on the scriptures that explain that the people on that sign are all men of color, different shades of brown. Okay, but if we go into that, we won't even touch the surface of this class, so we can't go into that. But Jacob, he was brown, like his father Isaac was brown, like his father Abraham was brown. Like the first man on earth, Adam was brown. Noah was brown. The whole shebang. But Esau was different. And that explanation of what I'm talking about is in Genesis chapter 25. Genesis chapter 25. Read that real quick. Let's just get right to the point about Esau.
Genesis chapter 25.
And I think it's 25.
And that one says, in the first came out.
Matter of fact, give me, yeah.
Start there.
Read verse 24.
Verse
24 to 26.
When her days were full. Genesis chapter 25, verse 24.
I have to explain this really quickly for new students so there's no confusion. Read this.
Genesis chapter 25, verse 24. And when her days were to be delivered were fulfilled.
The mother, her name was Rebekah. Her husband was Isaac. When Rebekah was supposed to be full term and ready to have a child, she had twins. Read on.
Behold, there were twins in her womb.
Read on.
And the first came out red all over like an hairy garment.
The first child came out red and hairy. And when you sit back here and get more specifics and understanding on that red skin, it was red skin because it had no pigmentation. You can read that and connect that in with Leviticus chapter 10 if I'm not mistaken. So when it said this child was red, you can see the blood forth out of his skin. And there's only one person on earth whose skin naturally lacks pigment, and what you see is just red. That's the so-called white man. Okay? So-called Native American, he's called a white man paleface. He had no pigmentation unless you slap him beside the head and their face would get red. Or you slap him on the back of the neck, they're called red-blooded what?
Americans.
Red-blooded Americans.
Or if it gets too hot.
Or if it's too hot, that red comes out.
Or
if they're
redneck.
ashamed or bashful, they're nervous, they got the little rosy cheeks.
Rosacea.
I'm not even tripping. That's what it is.
Yeah.
We're just explaining scripturally the people that are of the family line of Esau are red and they're hairy. Our people by nature aren't the most hairiest people. But you get that white man looks like George the Animal still out there, bro. It's hair everywhere. Like Tom Selleck chest out. It's like there's like hair everywhere. Ah! What am I trying to explain? When you're sitting back here and looking at people, looking at these scriptures, you have to tie in the imagery with what real life tells you. So, the first child of Isaac came out red and hairy. He was distinct. He was different because they explained his color and his bodily features. We're going to see if his bodily feature of the second child was explained. Read on.
Yes, sir. Genesis 25 and 25. And the first came out red all over like a hairy garment. And they called his name Esau.
Mm-hmm.
And
Esau means wasted away is he. Okay? Aisha in Hebrew. Read on.
And why was he wasted? Because he didn't have his natural pigmentation.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Let's keep going.
Verse 26. And after that came his brother out.
And they didn't explain anything besides that. His brother came out because he was more like his father and his mother. He was more the same tone, the same pigment, the same look. When you sit back and read about Adam, Scripture says Adam was made of the what of the earth? The dust of the earth. What color is the dirt or the dust of the earth?
Brown.
Different shades of brown. So Adam's lineage had different shades of brown, but that one cat Esau looked different and had different skin tone. I'm not here to judge right now. I just want to sit back here and use the scriptures to explain the difference between Jacob and Esau, right? So Jacob was the second child that came out. He was the youngest son. He came out brown like everybody else. Esau came out red and hairy, different from his brother. That's all I want from that verse. We're good. Let's go back to verse 8 in 2nd Ezra chapter 6.
Come. 2nd Ezra chapter 6 and verse 8 reads, "And he said unto me, from Abraham unto Isaac, when Jacob and Esau were born of him, Jacob's hand held first the heel of Esau."
That means Jacob was the second son. He held Esau's heel. He was the second child that came out. Esau was the first child that came out. Right? We're done.
Come, verse 9.
So now, tying this all together, we read Ecclesiastes 3 and 15, and it said the Lord requires that which is past to be what happens now. The question that Ezra asked the angel is, what's going to happen at the end? How do I know? How is the audience going to know when Christ is coming back? What is the signal of the end? We read last verse in Ecclesiastes 10 that the translation of power was based on wicked conduct. We just didn't know who the culprits were to let us know when the end is coming. So give me verse 9.
Verse 9. For Esau is the end of the world.
The red man, the man that's red and hairy, and his genealogy is red and hairy. His family line is red and hairy. They are going to mark the end of the world, the end of civilization as we know it. So scripturally, he's telling us that the empire of the so-called white man is going to be the end of the world that we know, and the beginning of it that follows is the kingdom that's led by Christ and God's chosen people, which is Israel. Read verse 9 again.
Come, for Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that follows.
Jacob, Israelites, are people, the people that have been on the bottom of the totem pole for numerous years, for 1,000 years, 1,000 plus years, 2,000 years, hell, 3,000 years damn near. It's going to be our time to be the leading government, the leading nation that's led by Christ. There's going to be everybody else in the world operating, but this is going to be a shift of who's in power, because that is what the kingdom is. The kingdom is about power, rulership, and authority. We got to prove that too. Let's go to Luke real quick. I know I'm kind of going on, but I have to explain this.
Luke 1:68.
It is close to that. I don't think it's 78. I think it's
68.
68.
No, it's Luke 1 and 71. Well, I guess you can start at verse 68 to 71. Luke 1, verse 68 to 71.
These are sidebars.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Stand in there. This is the sidebar. Put one out before.
Yeah, I got it.
All right. Luke chapter 1 and verse 68. Blessed be the Lord, power of Israel.
The Lord is the God of Israel. He's the God of the world too, but he's the God of Israel. Read on.
For he hath visited and redeemed his people, and have raised up an horn of salvation for us in the house of his servant
This
David.
chapter is talking about how they were praising the Most High because the Most High raised up Christ to be that salvation for us from the house of David. Read on.
Verse 70. As he spake by the mouth of his holy prophets, which have been since the world began.
There have been prophecies about the emergence of Christ since the world began. You can read about Christ as early as Genesis and as early as Deuteronomy, about different signs about the Savior coming. Read on.
Verse 71. that we should be saved from our
And
enemies.
what it's saying is that the marking of Christ also meant the salvation of Israel. Christ's arrival meant the salvation of the nation of Israel, and he was going to save Israel and put the rest of the world back in order, back where it's supposed to be. Remember, we read in Ezra, Ecclesiastes chapter 10 and 4, and I'm gonna read it real quick. The last part of that verse, because the last part of that verse said that the Lord is in due time, he will set over it one that is profitable. That one that's profitable is Christ. Christ is going to run this world to come with Israel as the supporting people, the nation responsible for enforcing and teaching the Lord's way. So when you sit back and think about the kingdom in a nutshell, the way you got to look at it is when Christ comes back, there's going to be many sets of things that he does to put the world in order. But in our people, our job is going to be teaching, developing, instructing, enforcing the law and the words of the Lord. Okay, that's what's going to be happening. So, 2 Ezra chapter 6 just lets us know the so-called white man's kingdom, as it declines, is letting you know the end is near. And you can see in society, you can see on the television and news, we're getting a couple steps closer to World War III. That's not too far away. They call it like a Cold War right now. It's about to be hot war really soon. When hot meaning you have literal United States military who has their own patches, boots on ground in Ukraine fighting Russia. That's a hot war. That's coming very soon. Right now, it's mercenary groups sent in Ukraine fighting with the Ukrainians, fighting the Russians. So it's a Cold War, not a hot war yet. But that hot war is coming. He's letting you know these times are getting worse and worse and worse. And as this country diminishes spiritually, they continue to get overextended with their military weaponry, the end is coming close. So, that's just the start. That's beginning. So, let all that go and go to Amos, chapter 5 and 18. Amos 5 and 18. Because I've heard a lot of people talk about, they can't wait till this end comes. We know America's falling, the down of America, and we can't wait till Esau falls. All right.
Nah, man.
I've heard a lot of people, a lot of Israelites, a lot of people waiting and joyous and can't wait till this end happens. Just a news flash. The end happening is not going to feel good. It's going to be very scary.
For anybody.
It's going to be bad for everybody. This is not going to be some joyous occasion where we're kumbaya and are dancing. I always go back to that Star Wars when the Empire falls, everybody's dancing and laughing. Everybody's partying with these weird sounds. And it's like, that's not going to happen. Who made these beats? These beats are whack, man. Those worldwide beats aren't dope. But anyway, what am I trying to say? Everybody thinks the end of the world is going to be some joyous occasion, or the process of the world breaking down is joyous, but it's not. Read that, Amos 5 and 18.
Amos chapter 5 and 18. Woe unto you that desire the day of the Lord.
He says, woe means destruction. Destruction to the people that can't wait till the end comes. Destruction to the people that can't wait until Esau falls and Jacob rises again. Because you'll see a lot of teachers saying, man, we can't wait till Esau falls, the so-called white man falls, America falls, Russia falls, because that's going to be our time to reign. We're up next. Maybe. You might be up next. Nobody's guaranteed nothing. And the events leading up to that transition of power is going to be vicious and scary. And this is why it's so important that you read and study and produce good works to the Lord now while you have time. Because when this thing gets bad, it's going to get real bad. Read it again from the top.
Amos 5 and 18. Woe unto you that desire the day of the Lord. To what end is it for you?
How is it going to work out? How is it going to play out for you? Are you going to be a martyr? Because the ones that really believe in the Lord, there's a chance you get martyred.
Yeah.
How are you going to deal with these famines? How are you going to deal with these wars? For the young brothers, you going to die as a draft? Draft's coming.
Yeah.
Because I'm past that age. I'm old, man. I'll be all right. But all y'all 20-something.
Sure, let's let Ukraine. They start recruiting them.
That was when it was desperate. That was desperate time.
That's now.
That's 2 years in. Listen,
that's 2 years
listen, man. I'll be all right. Listen, all y'all youngers got to go first, man. All y'all youngers with cartilage in your knees and strong back shock, got to get out there and carry them rucksacks. Listen, we're laughing, but that's scary too. Who wants to sit back here and go to war? They said those Ukrainians that are being shipped out, they're getting a month and a half training and they're out. And they're saying that their life expectancy is a couple hours. When you're on the front line, your assignment is to dig ditches and take these bullets.
Look, I had an epiphany. I played
An epiphany.
I had an epiphany. I played paintball recently, and the epiphany was when I was playing these semi-pro guys. And they sent me against semi-pro. It was 2v3. So we had 3 guys. We were all newbies, and they had 2 guys who were pros. And we got taken out in about 2 minutes with protection. The second I popped my head out, I got hit 4 times in the chest.
Wow.
And we're about 50 yards apart. This is no joke.
And these guys are doing this. Yeah. They're doing all kind of signals, and they know what they're doing. They just
look, bro. I didn't get him one time. And
what is going on?
There was one time where I had a pinpoint range, and I still got hit. Because all it took was one missed shot, and it was over for me.
And that's the point. When you're new in war, you're scared as hell. You're moving slow. You're reacting slow, and you're dealing with professionals. I'll never forget. Bro. I saw because some of the Russians had like video cams, and they were sitting back here, and they ambushed this group of Ukrainians. It was 2 of them. They were in a trench. They were shooting this way, and they didn't know they got surrounded. And they said that a little Russian talk, because the Russians know Ukrainian because their language is similar.
Yeah.
So the Russian guy says, "Let's stop what you're doing. Drop your hands. Drop your guns now." And the Ukrainians, they were so scared, they froze.
Yeah.
They were like, they didn't look like they were going to shoot. They were scared as hell though. But their hands are up with their guns up. And he said it 2 times. Put your hands down. They drop the guns. Drop the guns. Pop, 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 pop. And they kept going. I was like, damn, that was it. 2 times, you better lock in and do what you're told. Or 3 center mass and you're going on like it's a damn video game. Like it's Call of Duty. So listen, that's why it says, woe be to those who are asking for the day of the Lord. This transition of power, when America falls, Christ comes back, and we get instituted back into power. Are you going to be the one that makes it?
That's still before the day of the Lord.
Listen, I know. I'm just saying. We have a lot of mini verses to go into. We're just getting started.
Yeah.
But do you really want this smoke?
No.
And do you really think we can sit back here and escape the policies that's going to come down and touch each and every one of us? Yes.
President, adding to your point, for those of us that may have some type of combat knowledge, you may have that knowledge, but we have to remember we're going to be with our families. So you may be able to navigate a little bit, but you still have to string along a family and a camp and a body.
Yeah, we got babies.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
You got nephews and cousins and nieces.
So it doesn't really matter what we...
How badass you are. You better stop and make it about the people that's around you, and you better live by faith, and you better know how to do that. So, read verse 18, and that's exactly right.
Amos 5:18. Woe unto you that desire the day of the Lord. To what end is it for you? The day of the Lord is darkness, and not light.
The day of the Lord is darkness, man. You have to understand this. We know this world is wicked. But the operations and systems of this entire place has to get flipped upside down. People, policies, methodology. This whole thing has to be flipped upside down for it to be done right. Millions upon millions upon millions have to die.
No, billions.
Well,
I know.
That's why I said millions upon millions upon millions. This makes it bigger.
Yeah.
It's a lot. But I just would have said billions. It kind of goes.
You can't conceptualize.
That's my point.
Yeah,
You can't really conceive billions of people.
Yeah, you can't see that.
Millions and millions and millions going to go in different waves. Anyway, let that go.
That's true.
And go to Matthew chapter 24 and verse 6. Matthew 24 is one of those chapters that you got to go through when you're dealing with these end times. But there's so many more chapters than Matthew 24. What you're going to realize when you read about the end, it's spread all throughout the scriptures. People think the end is just in Revelations and a little chapter or two in Matthew. It's damn near in all the books of prophecy. All of the prophets talk about the end in some form or fashion.
Yeah.
Some more than others.
That's true.
Okay? So read Matthew chapter 24, verse 6 and 6 to 14, sir.
Wow.
Read that.
Matthew chapter 24, verse 6 reads, "And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars."
Listen, when you sit back and read this verse, you're going to hear of wars and rumors of wars. There's been wars for numerous times. There's been wars since the beginning of time, right? But when you're reading about these wars and rumors of wars, you want to sit back here and start off your mind with right after World War II. Right after World War II is when all of these wars and rumors of wars all have an effect. Because right after World War II, what was the war called right after World War II? Don't say the Korean War. That was the next major war. But what was it? Well, you had it. Say it.
Cold War.
The Cold War was the war right after World War II. After those Nazis got wiped out.
60s.
Then it was Russia and the United States battling for power. Yeah. And the majority of the wars that you sat back and saw on television, one side was funded by the United States, the other side was funded by Russia. Whether you're sitting back here and you're dealing with the Israelis fighting the Egyptians, guess who was on the Egyptian side? It was the Russians. Israel, the Americans had the Israelis, had their back. When it was Iraq and Iran fighting in the 80s, you had Iraq was backed by the United States, Iran was backed by Russia. All of these major wars, you had this different. It was just not shadow fighting, but it was proxy wars with the United States on one side, Russia on the other. This has all been building up since 1945. So you're hearing about wars and rumors of wars. All of these major conflicts were either because one side was backing the United States and the other was Russia, or they were that concept was used as a pretext to conquer and take people out. Whether it was Arbenz in Guatemala, it was said he was communist, but he wasn't. The leader in Iran years ago in the 50s, it was said he was communist, but he wasn't. Mogadishu, it was Mogadishu from Iran. Point is this: either they were literal proxies, or that concept was used to go and invade. What am I trying to say? There's been wars and rumors of wars since 1945. Really, it was Russia and the United States, and they were fighting for territory. All of NATO expansion, when the wall in Germany fell and communism fell, after communism fell in the early 90s, from that time on, the United States was pushing eastward to the doorstep of Russia. This whole Ukrainian war was about Russia saying, you know what? I've been telling y'all since 91 to stop pushing eastward. Yep. Now you're right on our doorstep. We're going to have to fight back. People don't understand. You know, when the Gorbachev, that Russian guy with the little coffee stain on his head, when they sat back here and agreed to dismantle Russia, the stipulation of Russia backing out and dismantling their country was for NATO not to go any further than Germany. And since 91, they've been pushing eastward towards Yugoslavia, Romania, Poland, Lithuania. No. Lithuania is not NATO. Now it's Sweden,
Finland,
huh?
Czechoslovakia.
Yeah, that's Yugoslavia. Okay. When they broke up Yugoslavia, made them into small little provinces, and controlled all of them under NATO. Greece, all of them.
You said Bolivia, right?
No, Bolivia is in South America.
So,
I said Bulgaria, Romania, all those countries are EU countries, NATO countries. They've been pushing eastward for the eventual time to take out Russia. The wars and rumors of wars are all the wars and skirmishes set to get ready to fight Russia versus United States. Hell, even the Korean War was about North Korea versus South Korea. Yeah. North Korea was backed by Russia and China. Yeah. South Korea was backed by United States.
To this day.
And the war was neutral.
Yep.
And they had to sit back and say it's a neutral, it's a draw. Many died, but we're going to split the country in half. Russia, Soviet Union allies stay up north, United States allies stay at south. All these wars have been about proxy wars and fighting territory between Russia and the United States. Those are the wars and rumors of wars. Does that make sense? Because those are the last nations standing that are world superpowers, that are the top world superpowers. Read verse 6 again.
Con. Matthew chapter 24, verse 6 reads, "And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled."
Because this is just the beginning. All these wars, and Israel was in the Gulf War, and it really wasn't much of nothing, and we wiped out those Iraqis, and Operation Enduring Freedom, and we protected the Kuwaitis. All that was about was when Russia collapsed. They couldn't sit back here and put up a fight and counterbalance the United States' presence in the Middle East. So he said, with all that happening, don't stress out because we're just getting started. Read on.
"For all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet."
He says the end is not yet. We're not even close for the end to happen. Read on.
"For nation shall rise against nation."
He says it's going to get so bad that we're going to end up entering into a world war conflict. We're already here now, nation versus nation. You have the United States, NATO allies, which is who? Britain, Spain, France, all of Ukraine. I'm trying to think of all these small countries. Sweden, Finland,
Poland,
all of the.
That's part of Britain.
The allied, all the allied countries, which is the UN, they're all fighting against just Russia right now. But this is going to escalate to the point where China gets dragged in, because what China does, China's helping Russia economically. Yep. China's helping Russia probably with sending and manufacturing certain weaponry that Russia might not be able to do right now. India is helping them financially because India is buying all of their oil reserves and reselling it back to Europe at a high price. So those are Russia's allies, but they're just financial allies right now. It's going to get to a point where they're going to get dragged in militarily also. That's when you start knowing this is getting worse. The more militaries that get propped up into this war. Okay? Hell, and while that's happening, Israel was given the clearance by Netanyahu to invade Hezbollah. Lebanon. Just a couple of days ago. It hasn't happened yet, but they've been given the okay. Yeah. So Israel can sit back here and fight their northern rivals that they've been fighting since the 40s. That could be happening now. Iran is planning a retaliation attack against Israel that happened a month ago. All this stuff is happening. And he says, as this escalates, this is the end. Okay, let's keep going.
Verse 7. "For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines."
He says, there shall be famines. Now listen, when I used to read famines, I'm like, man, there's going to be no food anywhere? What the hell's going on? But when you sit back and think about famines, one way you can set up a famine? What did I do with it? Oh, man. One way you can set up a famine is by controlling and patenting all the seeds, all the farmland. Guess who owns all the farmland in the United States? There's two people. China and Bill Gates. Bill Gates owns This guy owns the majority of farmland in the United States. Bill Gates. And China owns the other part of the farmland.
Yeah.
American farms are being eradicated. They can't pay the leases on their products. The leases are too high. The equipment, the maintenance is too high. They can't survive in their business. And Gates and them are owning all the damn land. So, if I'm a multi-billionaire and I own all the farms, and Monsanto has the patent on all the seeds in circulation, you can control what? Who gets fed, how much they're fed, who doesn't get fed.
Yeah.
You know, they're already implementing social credit scores. Hell, China is the poster child for establishing social credit scores. If you don't have a certain social credit score, you can't survive in a society. You don't get the jobs you want to get. Your lifestyle drops significantly. But that sooner than later will happen in the United States. So the famine isn't going to be because all the land is barren and it can't make no more wheat. It can't grow no more of this. It's going to get to the point where the corporations control the seeds. The corporations control the land, control the farming industry.
Which is what happened in the 80s during the Green Revolution. Because during the 80s, that was in the heart of the Cold War. And to the United States used the machinery, the seed splitting and maneuvering to gain the favor of all the communist allies. That's how they got China on their side. That's how they got those smaller
We will
countries.
feed you.
We'll feed
and
you.
they can't feed you.
We'll feed you if you fight for it.
And we'll give you jobs.
Exactly.
Well, listen, Richard Nixon was famous for his foreign policy with China in particular.
Yeah.
But one of their objectives in the 70s was to break the Russo-Sino connection.
Yeah.
The Russian-China connection, they had to sever it.
Yeah.
And the way they severed it is stop doing business with Russia and we'll give you jobs. Everybody know, oh yeah, China takes all the jobs and America outsources everything.
There's a reason.
That happened with strategic economic warfare against Russia.
Yeah.
All of these wars and rumors of wars goes back to those two nations. Anyway, so the famines that will be coming can easily come from these corporations controlling the farming industry, the seed selling industry, the seed making industry.
Inflation. The manufacture of inflation. Because a lot of these countries, you get them in debt enough, they can't even buy food. There might be food available. How many times, even during COVID, when they were throwing away millions of pounds of potatoes because they didn't want to put on the market?
I know, but that's how you can set up a famine.
Exactly.
The land can grow like normal, but they don't got to give it to you.
Yeah.
They don't got to disperse it out to the people.
And they're trying to ban. You look and do the research, trying to ban red meat. All the meat factories are being
blown up.
You will eat the bugs, man.
Yeah, I had a whole class about it. Entomorphagy. They like
what was the name of it again?
It's called entomorphagy.
Yes.
It got taken off the internet.
but
all these meat producing factories from poultry, they just happen to explode and catch on fire.
Yeah.
Every
that's
other
true.
meat.
All the processing plants.
All the processing plants.
Now the bird flu's back. The bird flu came back after 50 years of being extinct off the earth.
And these diseases only come back on election years.
Yeah.
What a coincidence.
Huh?
So all we're explaining is that these famines can easily be manufactured. You don't have to wake up one day and all the damn lemon trees are just zapped out.
Yeah.
You can break a nation by just controlling how much food is distributed to different locations and cities. That's how you cause famine and mass panic. All they gotta do is, the truck ain't coming in this week. Oh my goodness!
To create complaint.
No trucks. Imagine all the HEBs in San Antonio have nothing in the shelves because the shipments didn't come in. That's famine. Is that not famine? That is famine. But if corporations control the patent for seeds, they also control the access of water. If they want to cut off water, all I do is shut it off. Shut off the water, shut off access to HEB, ship no more water out. The stores will be bare empty within days. Think about when it's like snowing outside of San Antonio and you try to go to HEB. There ain't nothing in there.
Yeah.
but like nasty lima beans or something like that. That's it. That's all that's there.
That's not ain't that bad. Hey,
Now, I'm gonna say this. You eat them then. That's all that's there.
Delicious then. I was gonna say this. We had a taste of this when Biden was having an issue with China, and they had all those ships stuck in the Pacific.
That was Trump, wasn't it?
No, that wasn't Trump. It wasn't Trump.
That was Trump.
No, it was Biden tripping. Biden was tripping. Remember, it was all those ships.
No, I remember that, but Biden was having embargo wars with them too.
Well, Trump established Biden, but there was a confusion. There was a disagreement, and there was just mountains of product that's stuck.
This in the water,
and
people were angry because their kids couldn't have Christmas. Right. They couldn't get gifts.
Yeah,
they didn't have access to things they ordered online.
And people with cars, they couldn't get their car parts. You just waiting waiting for the little blinker to come.
Oh yeah, that was in 2020. The car part issue. Yeah, that's true.
All these things are true.
The chip issue,
famines, societal functionality could break down very easily. It's quicker and it's more accessible than you think. We are spoiled by the luxury of having these shipments coming in, access to food, access to resources. But the powers that be, when they want to turn the switch, they could turn the switch. Yes.
Remember they did it with the gasoline 2 years ago?
Yeah. And people at gas stations going crazy at it.
Bananas.
They got their gas and they filled these big old containers up, and there was no more gas for the people. And then you want to sit back here and start robbing these dudes.
Yeah.
And have these big old containers of gas and they're just snatching the gas. There's only so much gas for the damn week.
You know that
And they had these cats with their big old Tonka truck F-350s loading the gas, loading these big old containers up. I'm like, bro, listen, you tripping. What if somebody cuts your tires? You ain't got nowhere to go. Then what you gonna do?
Siphon that gas?
No, they're just gonna take it. What you gonna do when they take it? That's how bad it is. Siphoning is one thing, but we're just gonna commandeer your vehicle.
We're not gonna be.
That's a nice way to say. We're just gonna take this. Thanks, man. And like, damn.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks, dog.
Let me hold some.
You went to the Air Force, man.
Yeah.
What you gonna say?
Nah, I was
We're like 5 guys with weapons.
I was gonna say that's a perfect example because in Texas produces about 45 to 50% of the entire country's gas production anyway. So there's no way ever we should run out of gas, especially in Texas. There's no way Texas should not have gas.
Yep.
But it did.
But they did because they can shut it off
When they want. So
want.
this is how famines and these catastrophes can happen.
Yeah.
So let's read verse 6 again.
You mean verse 7?
Yes.
Come. Matthew chapter 24 and verse 7 reads, "For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. And there shall be famines and pestilence."
Don't forget. What is the pestilence?
Disease.
It's diseases.
Airborne.
Now we be sitting back here thinking that they're diseases that come from the Most High. They could be, or they could be genetically engineered, like in Wuhan.
Yeah.
Listen, that is a pestilence. Whether you want to sit back here and act like it is or not, it's a pestilence. But it was less about the pestilence and more about how society shut down behind the pestilence.
Yeah.
Listen, once society breaks down, then all of a sudden there's anarchy. There's every man for themselves. Remember when there was a toilet paper like craze going on just because of the 19 boy, the C-19?
The boy.
I'm like, listen, TP is not the solution to the COVID issue. It ain't. But what are we trying to understand? All these different scenarios are happening. Whether they're man-made diseases, they're man-made inflicted famines, whatever you want to, however you want to call it, these things are happening and they will continue to ramp. You talked about bird flu, I think it was you. Then you sit back here, there's monkeypox out here. And what the hell is going on here? And it's going to get worse and worse and worse. And those are man-made and manufactured too.
And Bill Gates always says, "I predict."
Yeah.
To say no.
Yeah.
We're going to do a little test run because we're guessing
Yeah.
that this is going to happen.
Yeah. But they prepped the first pestilence with the numbers 19 behind it. And they're prepping all this stuff years ahead of time.
Yeah.
That's what's happening.
We think it might happen.
Obama in 2009 says we're gonna have we're gonna have an epidemic in 10 years. That was 2009. Sure enough, 2019.
He's a prophet. He was a prophet. Either he had offered or they had a meeting about it 10 years before.
Yeah.
And then it's one about implementation with a 10-year plan.
Time.
This is how, but the Most High is in control of it all. He's in control of their mind. He's in control of all these plans. And he's letting us know these are the indicators to let you know the end is near. You know?
And pestilence and earthquakes.
And earthquakes, they've been happening. Listen, there are earthquakes that happen naturally, and there are also manufactured and created earthquakes.
Yeah.
That's a real thing also. Okay, read on.
In diverse places.
There's earthquakes, there's tsunamis, there's all type of natural catastrophes happening all around the world.
In uncommon places.
In uncommon places. Read on.
All these are the beginning of sorrow.
He says this is the beginning of sorrow. Remember in verse 6, he said all these wars, rumors of wars, don't sweat it. Don't sweat it. This is the beginning. Now he's getting more interpersonal when things get real. Because it gets real when you sit back and go to Walmart and there's no water.
Yeah.
And you're like, man, what are we going to do if this stays like this? That's real. And then you start seeing there's no bread. Babies need milk. Babies need formula. How are we going to get these things when it's scarce? And shipments come in few and far between. And then when the shipments do come in, they get commandeered. So what's going to force you to do?
Commandeer too.
Commandeer too.
California are doing that. They already have that dynamic in California, these extremely liberal cities. People just going in stores, taking things and rolling out like it's nothing.
Well, is that not open?
Just look it up.
I'm just talking about, yeah.
So these things are happening, but they're going to get ramped up and amplified even more. And as they intensify, it's more confirmation that the time is getting near. Because all these scenarios are showing the decline and the breakdown of society. Okay, read on.
Come, verse 9. Then shall they deliver you up to be afflicted.
And then what's going to start happening is the people that serve the Most High and are still trying to keep their, what's the word?
Integrity.
Their integrity. They're going to be targets, and they're going to be the blame as to why things are falling apart. Listen, just sit back here now and stand up for righteousness' sake and look how you looked at. When you take stances in Christ and in the Scriptures, you're looked upon as one of those guys. I'm not talking about even being a Jew. I'm just talking about having Judeo-Christian values. You're going to sit back here and be a target. We're lucky we don't feel it that bad in Texas, but do it in Cali. Have spiritual stances in Cali. You see how you're treated.
Ostracized.
Go to Colorado and take a stance according to the Scriptures about how policies are being done. Go to New York and do it. Oh, you're going to be looked upon as a pariah.
Yep.
You ever sit back here and look on YouTube and Twitter, look up Libs of TikTok. Libs of TikTok.
Oh, they go hard.
If you're not about the LGBTQ agenda, they're after you, bro. They're coming for you. And I'm not there. You think people that are not about that are aggressive? They're 10 times more aggressive. And that's the truth. So when this thing gets worse, the people that stand up for righteousness' sake, that have a godly mindset, they're going to be the targets of scrutiny, slander, and aggressive behavior. And that's another sign of the condemnation and the fall of this society. People that are about the Most High are going to be public enemy number one. Let's continue.
Come, then shall they deliver you up.
This is why so many people are so about Trump. Not that Trump is God-fearing, because he's not, but he represents the God-fearing Christian white man who wants to sit back here and reestablish Judeo-Christian values. God bless America. They riding with Trump. Trump is their savior. I'm like, what happens when this guy dies? What are you going to do when he dies? Or when he can't sit back here and run no more in 4 years?
JD Vance.
Huh? What are you going to do? JD Vance out. You know you got an Indian woman. I don't know about you, man.
Yeah.
I don't know if you heard that. You didn't treat a white guy. I don't know about that.
Serving in the military, he's a Marine.
Yeah. Point is,
some food is good. That's what happened. Man. That's delicious.
I guess.
That too is good.
Whatever works for this man. Curry, yeah. Listen, let's continue. Curry is delicious.
It's like you
There's no doubt about
gotta
it.
make a decision now.
But okay, so let's keep reading.
And shall kill you.
And then it's going to go from abuse to killing you. Listen, you can even see on YouTube. If you sit back here and say anything against how society flows, you get cut off and banned on YouTube. Right?
Yeah.
That's a microcosm of how society is going to turn into. If you're about the Most High and the Lord, you're going to be a target. This is going to happen. Scripture says it, and you can see signs that we're getting closer to that. Like I said, when I put this class together, I was really trying to show the end part of what happens at the end, but I kind of get dry. You got to go into what leads up to the kingdom, the fancy pearly gates place. It's a lot of sadness, pain, test of faith that we're going to have to get through, suffering to get to the end where everything is happy and we're joyous and we're at peace and we're smiling. Let's continue.
Come.
14.
And ye shall be hated of all nations for my name's sake.
For those of us Israelites and people who choose to serve the Most High, we're going to be public enemy number one. Okay, let's keep going.
Verse 10. Then shall many be offended, and shall betray one another, and shall hate one another.
Very easy. When the pressure is on the people who do serve the Most High, what are people going to start doing? Denying the Most High, denying the people that they work with, snitching people out. It's going to be that way. That's the offense. The offense is, because I'm serving the Most High, my life is miserable. And I don't want to live this way no more. So what do I got to do to get out of this jacked up situation? Oh, let me go ahead then and rat that camp out that's trying to live by those Judeo-Christian laws. They're over there. So can I get some food?
Yeah.
That's how they're going to ration supplies. Basically, if you're going to sell out or not. What do you think this is going to happen? If you're not about Christ, you'll get your allotment of food. If you're about the Most High in Christ, you're going to be labeled, and you're on your own until you bend the knee. So people that are under that condition, they're going to panic and turn coat on the people around them. That's going to be how desperate it's going to become. So it's going to be so important that we learn tactics of unity, brotherhood, sacrifice, coming together, doing without for the unit's sake. If we don't know this now, we're going to turn on each other really soon. Let's continue.
Come. Verse 11. And many false prophets shall rise.
Many false teachers, many false doctrines shall be appearing at this time, deceiving many. Read it. What's that?
Everyone's gonna be looking for a hope.
Yep.
Everyone's gonna be looking for some answers, some comfort,
And whatever sounds good and feels
whatever
good.
sounds good. Exactly.
And it's going to open the door for people who give snake oil,
Wow.
who give these false dreams and false hopes. You know it's wrong when it sounds too good to be true. When you're hearing like Joel Osteen type teaching, get away from those guys. Everything about the Lord is not prosperity. I don't know how he's getting away with this.
Don't read.
He's got that cheese-eating grin. Lord wants you to have everything you want. I'm like, damn, you're like the damn Joker out here, right? It's the truth. His face, he has that crease. His face is creased because of all the smiling. He never brings the cheeks down like this. He wants you to have blessed. He wants you to get blessed. Everybody's gonna get blessed. Just smile. It's gonna work out for you. If you want things, he's gonna give it to you.
Kenneth Copeland has the worst one.
Until Hurricane Harvey comes in,
This guy right here.
and that water's everywhere. And
What's
it's
his name?
horrible when you're
Kenneth Copeland.
when the host want to go into his congregation, he closed his church down. He didn't want to make his church a facility.
It wasn't for the black guys. Listen, that smiling message was not for black folks. All that smiling, that was for white folks who had bread. You can hear the good. The good news is for you. The good news ain't for them.
Yeah.
At the bottom of the hill, it ain't for those guys. That's the reality. So let's continue. Verse 12.
Come. I didn't finish
It's
the
crazy, bro.
They shall deceive many. You're good.
verse 12. And because iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold.
The love of many shall wax cold.
It's like Cain said,
It's going to be all men for themselves.
Yeah, bro.
Because everybody that believes in the Most High is going to get ostracized over there.
Yeah.
So he's like, listen, everybody's going to be living for them, doing them, surviving, doing deals, making moves to get to the next day. That's how it's going to be. And that urge to protect yourself, if that's going to be prevalent all throughout the world. Well, let's continue.
Come, verse 13. But he that shall endure unto the end, the same shall be saved.
The individual that maintains that spiritual integrity, that doesn't let decaying circumstances in his or her life change their view and their works towards the Heavenly Father, they get saved. They make it. Read on.
Verse 14. And this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world for a witness unto all nations.
So he's like, this word, these scriptures, is going to be taught all around the world as a witness to everyone. This is even why even the so-called white man and all their evangelical pursuits in Africa and all around the world, the Most High used them. Because without them, how was the rest of the world going to be given the scriptures?
The actual book.
The actual Bible. Now, the message that this Christianity is being pushed is a bastardized version of the scriptures, but it's still Christ. It's still the Lord. So he was used to sit back here and educate the entire world so that they would at least have a working knowledge of him before he comes back. Does that make sense? So all those Walla Walla tribes in Africa and the Far East and Polynesia and Indonesia and all those Asians in South Africa and South America, all those places, they needed to get the word so they can learn Christ and get out of these damn hut-eating tribes that believe in sun gods and earth gods and all this kind of craziness.
Primitive deities, yeah.
Thank you. So, it had to happen because when Christ comes back, he's going to be measuring your relationship with him. So, with that being said, continue verse no. So it says the gospel is going to be preached. Then no end's going to come. We're going to let that go. Let's go to Joel chapter 3 and verse 9 through 11. Joel chapter 3 verse 9 through 11. Read that.
So let's get it.
Joel 3 verse 9 through 11.
Joel chapter 3 and verse 9. Right?
Yep.
Proclaim ye this among the Gentiles.
He said, proclaim ye this amongst the nations. Read on. Gentiles means nations. Read on.
Prepare war.
He says, prepare for war. Listen, like I always go back to right after WW2, there was a major arms race between the United States and their allies and the Soviet Union and their allies. This is what preparing for war looks like. Both nations have been stockpiling weaponry since the mid-40s to get ready for a conflict. When there was air quote peace in the 90s, was it really peace? Or was Russia so broken down they had to focus on reestablishing their country?
Yeah.
Once that happened, the arms race was back on. And the arms race has been going back on, getting to this point where the conflict is flowing and Russia is on a military output operating 2 and 3 times better than not just the United States but the entire NATO. Right now, all of NATO and United States stockpile weapons are gone. I mean, America has some more stuff left, but they need it for themselves, their own strategic reserves. But Russia is their output of military weaponry is running circles around everybody else. Germany's out of weapons. Britain is long. Britain already announced we can't give them no more. We can't give you guys anything else. Germany can't give anybody anything else. All these countries gave Ukraine everything they got. And Russia keeps popping out more stuff. Popping out more weapons. What am I saying?
The bullet rate, we break it down, the bullet rate.
Yeah.
A couple classes back about the rate of weapon allowed
rounds.
per day.
Yeah.
Rounds per day.
Yes. I think picture. Russia goes to like 30,000 rounds a day. And Ukraine has to use under 10 a day. So they're knocking out 30,000 rounds a day, and Ukraine got to knock out 5,000 a day. This is what between their whole military. They said Russia is outputting 4,000 drones a day. Drones. And drone warfare is what it's about right now. You're saving bodies. You're saving just manpower by bringing these drones in there, busting up the opponent. What am I saying? Russia's output is double the United States. All of the weapons that the United States is making is on back order. They're gonna make weapons for Ukraine by 2025. By then it's gonna be too late. Okay, so he's telling us still, prepare for war, because this world war is coming. Read on.
Prepare war. Wake up the mighty men. Let all the men of war draw near. Let them come up. Beat your plowshares into swords.
He says make this time and get ready to go to war for real. Okay? That means your economy doesn't need to be about building your nation up and sustaining them and feeding them. Make your economy based on a wartime economy. Okay? Read on.
And your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say, I am strong.
And this preparing for war is not just for Russia and the United States. It's all the allies around. That's why all these allies have nuclear weapons. India has nuclear weapons. China has nuclear weapons. Turkey has...
Or it was Iran.
They say Iran does, but who knows?
Yeah.
They might have nuclear weapons, but all these countries are fighting to equip themselves to get prepared for a war. It's happening. Read on.
Assemble yourselves and come, all ye heathen, and gather yourselves together round about. Thither cause the mighty ones to come down, O Lord.
Let that verse go and go to Revelations chapter 17, verse 1 and 2, and then 15. I know. I thought we'd get a little closer than this, man. But it's okay. We got an hour and a half. Might have to push it to 11. I don't know. Everybody's looking at me. And we won't even get halfway close if we do that. But just be patient with us. We'll get there. Revelations chapter 17, verse 1, 2, and 15.
Revelation chapter 17, verse 1. And there came one of the 7 angels, which had the 7 vials, and talked with me, saying unto me.
A vial is a prophecy or a period of time. So this angel was responsible for a certain period of time and the events that are happening during this period of time. Read on.
Saying unto me, Come hither, I will show unto thee the judgment of the great whore that sitteth upon many waters.
He says, the great whore that sits upon many waters. Real quick, give me verse 15 to explain what the waters mean.
Revelation chapter 17, verse 15. And he saith unto me, The waters which thou sawest, where the whore sitteth, are peoples, and multitudes, and nations, and tongues.
So if the waters that the whore is on top of are the nations of the earth, the whore is the leader and the head of all the nations around it. Does that make sense? So, read verse 1 again.
Revelation chapter 17, verse 1. And there came one of the 7 angels, which had the 7 vials, and talked with me, saying unto me, Come hither, I will show unto thee the judgment of the great whore that sitteth upon many waters.
So now we're talking about the great whore. And the great whore is America. Why is the great whore America? Because all the nations that flow unto it have to do what?
Rely on
To let me finish. Had to do what? To gain access, riches, and power.
Business.
They have to corrupt themselves. These nations have to corrupt themselves to get part and to I guess get a piece of the pie that the war has to offer.
Yep.
Listen, all of these countries, France, Germany, England, they still have connections and control of these smaller countries and nations, right? If you sit back here and look at, I forgot the country that Burkina Faso is in control of, but whether it's that country or Cote d'Ivoire,
Niger.
there's Niger. Niger, there's a country called Cote d'Ivoire, and there's another country in that area, and it's all French speaking.
Yeah.
Why is it French speaking? Because there are French colonies and occupancy has been there since the late 1800s, and they're still there. In all these countries, you have whether it's what do you call it a war? France, Britain. You still have Japan and China, all up in Africa, exploiting the resources, exploiting the land. Russia got their hand in the cookie jar there also.
Spain.
Spain?
They have one country in Africa. I think it's Equatorial Guinea.
Yes.
They speak Spanish.
Mm-hmm. And what it's saying is the whore is the institution, the country that all nations flow onto. What was the number one thing that America uses to break a country that doesn't listen to them?
Sanctions.
Economic sanctions. And because all the countries flow onto the United States petrodollar, everybody's money and finances and their ability to sustain themselves is based upon the United States accepting them or not. And also the IMF, which is the International Monetary Fund, and there's another one I forgot, the World Bank.
Yeah, World Bank.
It's IMF and the World Bank flow under the United States government. So if I need bank loans to sustain my country, I got to accept United States policies to get the bank loans to keep my country flowing. That's the order.
Which is, it's the destabilization of the nation, but what it is you take away your governmental funding, you take away the money that goes into education, you buy all the machinery. You can't even employ your own people to operate that machinery.
That's the IMF hustle.
Exactly.
Because if I'm getting these bank loans that the United States is saying, okay, give them the money, now I have to change my policy, my societal policies, my agricultural policies. They have to determine what I farm, what I get to create, what I get to produce, the volume of it.
Yeah.
It's even the European Union's that way.
Okay.
The European Union, listen, right now, I just read about Viktor Orban. He is the president of Hungary. The EU charged him just a couple days ago $200 million.
Oh yeah.
Because he sat back here and closed his border off to foreigners.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're part of the EU crew, if you don't do what everybody else does, we're going to break you. Orban went to Russia to do business with Putin, and they said, listen, you can't do that. So they're using this immigration scenario as a slap on the wrist because you're talking to Putin and Xi Jinping of China.
Exactly.
This is how they break countries that are under the European Union affiliation, NATO affiliation, the United States affiliation, which is the whore.
And on a corporate level, you got the whole situation with the fall of Budweiser and the stock collapse of Budweiser.
That's just in the country, yes.
No, domestically. What happened? They had to push the extremely liberal
policy,
an extremely liberal campaign.
That's against the demographic.
Culture changing campaign because they weren't going to be able to access
finance
money for finance
to keep their business going.
They had to have a certain. If you don't have these liberal points like Target did the same thing, your corporation's not going to get funded by these other banks that they need funding for to keep their corporation going.
And this is how America's the whore, and the rest of the nations are subservient to America. They control the dollar. They control the currency that everybody has to buy and sell in. Because years ago they made a deal with Saudi Arabia, And because oil is the king and currency, they said Saudi Arabia, everybody got to buy oil in the dollar. And that keeps the dollar up. Even and allows them to keep spending and staying that they can print money and it don't matter. Really, the American dollar is worth a few pennies.
Yeah.
A dollar is really worth a few pennies at this point.
Yeah.
But because it's backed by gold, I mean not gold, I'm sorry, it's not backed by gold. It's backed by oil, and the national currency of oil, they can keep extending out financially way beyond their means and still stay in power. What am I trying to say? I know it's a lot of information coming out, but America is the whore because every country has to flow through and agree with their policies and sell their people out. Because listen, all of these countries that are sending money to Ukraine, sending weapons to Ukraine, they're bankrupting their countries. France is losing money by the millions and billions. They're skyrocketing inflation. Britain's inflation is up the roof. Germany, Volkswagen's about to go bankrupt. Wow. Volkswagen's about to go bankrupt. You know why? Because the industrial complex of Germany has been broken.
This is on an economic level.
And all the resources are being sent to Ukraine. And what's happening? The people are pissed. So what's happening? They're going to get rid of the leaders that back Ukraine and reinstall them with new leaders that back Ukraine. Because if they don't, they'll get sanctioned themselves too. Like Orban in Hungary. Orban don't want to do this war. And they getting him $200 million off rip. And what they're doing is the EU ordered Ukraine to not allow Russian oil shipments to go to Hungary. Because listen, Orban's like, I need to do these deals with Russia to keep my country going. I need your oil, I need your resources. Ukraine ain't letting it cross over to Hungary. They're going to keep them hungry, keep them broke. But that was an EU move to control Hungary to keep them bowing the knee.
And this place is also the whore.
That's the gangster. Is that not gangsterism?
Yeah.
Listen. EU was a bunch of gangsters. Right? This is some cartel stuff, right? I don't want somebody El Chapo's a bad guy. Listen, these Edomites in suits in Switzerland, they're the biggest gangsters around. They're the biggest crime bosses. Yeah, you're gonna follow our policies. We're gonna bankrupt your ass. Remember, like in not casino, but in Goodfellas. You don't want to pay my bills? Do what I say? F you, pay me. That was the deal.
The bankers.
The bankers.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm sorry. You said I was cutting you off.
I was and also using you're breaking down the economic reason why this
America's the whore and all the nations. Don't forget, this says the whore was on top of the waters.
Yeah.
And the waters are referred to as the nations. All the nations and peoples and tongues that have to go to America to keep afloat. This is why Russia is going a different course and is such a threat to the United States. Because when Russia got all these sanctions, they didn't fall. They thought they could use these sanctions, cut their money, and it'll break Russia. Because they said Russia is just a gas station operating as a country. So if we cut out, they blew up that Nord Stream, that pipeline that ran from Russia to Germany. Point is if we break this thing, cut their money, sanction them, they'll collapse. The people will oust Putin, and we can bring in a puppet leader to take over Russia, and we can have access to all their natural resources. That's what the game is about. What was you going to say?
I'm just also showing for those that are new, when you're dealing with the United States, you're dealing with more corruption through media, more corruption through propaganda, more corruption through educational policies that they teach children. These different, it's not just the economic element, but on every element from politics, entertainment, music, even the food, these things are corrupting, meaning whore corrupts, are breaking down and diminishing the body, the mind, and the family structure.
And this is why it's so important when you're reading the scriptures, you have to look at it from a world perspective, a national perspective, because things start to make more sense as to Revelations and Isaiah and Matthew. You start seeing it from a different lens when you see it from a geopolitical standpoint.
A world events perspective.
Okay, so where are we at in Revelations?
Revelations chapter 17, verse 2 now.
So, okay, exactly.
It says, with whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication.
They've committed fornication, spiritual fornication. Because all of these countries all of the NATO allies of the United States have compromised their specific national sovereignty to keep this funding of Ukraine flowing, to keep America floating and powerful. Their own countries are falling apart.
To stay in alignment.
Just to stay in alignment and obey their overlords. It's happening in England. If you sit back here, they're rioting in England.
Yeah.
They're always rioting in France.
Yeah.
But they're complaining about the leadership. They're complaining about the leadership of Germany. All of these world powers that are under the United States are falling apart. But in order to keep that unity and solidarity, they got to compromise their country so that America can sustain and try to dominate and wipe out Russia. So read on.
It says, and the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of her fornication.
The wine of America's fornication is talking about their democracy and the United States foreign policy, their way of operating. All these countries have to buy into their foreign policy, their targets. It started in the 90s when they all said, we're going to sit back here and set up Saddam Hussein. People think Saddam Hussein was this bully of Baghdad. He was this wicked dude.
The butcher of Baghdad.
Yeah, the
He's
bully
a bad
of the butcher.
man.
He was a bad guy. What they don't tell you is Saddam worked for the United States.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
He was a CIA operative, and they funneled him money and power and weapons to take out Iran, who was backed by Russia. And what they also don't tell you is Saddam Hussein called George Bush in the early 90s. He said, listen, these Kuwaitis are slant drilling on my property.
And what is slant drilling?
Slant drilling is this. If I am Iraq, you're Kuwait, I can sit back here and use a drill to sideways drill to take the oil out of Iraq. I can sideways drill and take your oil. Have y'all seen not Country for Old Man, but that what was that? There Will Be Blood. There Will Be Blood. Great movie. And it talked about this old Edomite in the 1800s. He did the same thing to get some oil from this preacher's land. He sat back here and slant drilled and took all the oil and it went right up under and went to his reservoirs. It was millions of dollars worth of oil. When the guy came to him and said, okay, I'm finally ready to sell, man. I'm ready to sell the land. He was eating a steak. Already have your oil. He was a bad guy. He was eating medium rare steak. I ate bloody steak. Let's eating my guy. I took your oil already. What are you talking about? We slant drilled. There's a procedure called slant drilling. And they slant drilled. They took his stuff, man, and he killed the guy. Anyway, great movie. You gotta watch it if you get a chance. But the Kuwaitis were slant drilling also and got the technology from the Bush family.
It's true.
Because the Bush family had access to the oil fields in Texas.
The Bushes were about that oil.
So, listen. So Saddam says, listen, they're taking my oil. I'm going to take them over. I'm going to cross the lines. And I'm going to sit back and get my oil back. He reported to Bush, and Bush said, cool. Now, this is after Russia fell. So Russia couldn't back them anymore. They had no more backing. There was nobody that could sit back and blow back against them. So then O'Boy comes down. Okay. O'Boy comes down to Kuwait and takes over. And then Bush says, see, Saddam Hussein is taking over. He's a dictator and he's taking out the poor people of Kuwait. But he called him and told him he's going to do it. Then he does a switcheroo to justify taking Saddam's oil.
Because he wanted that oil.
So I'm going to get your oil by poking the bear and getting you to cross lines, and then we'll use propaganda to say, you guys took over these poor defenseless Kuwaitis. And the fix is on. Then there was this lady, this young girl on C-SPAN that did this report about how the Iraqis went into the hospitals and killed babies out of incubators. And she said, they killed the babies, I was trying. But when they found out, like around 6 months later, she wasn't even there. And her father is an ambassador for Kuwait in the United States. They just used her as a puppet to paint a story to make Saddam look like a bad guy.
She did admit it years later too that was a story.
But it was too late.
It's too late at that point.
The tea was spilled. The country was taken over. So they took him out in the 90s, and they came back and took him out 10 years later and completely destabilized Iraq to this day. And then they brought Britain in. They brought it was the coalition of the willing. They brought all these other nations together that were going to sit back here and follow the United States, and they got a piece of the pie when they divvied up the oil. And that's the fornication. You got to serve me, and I'll give you a little piece. We're going to sit back here and take out 500,000 children. Madeleine Albright was the Secretary of Defense, and they said, do you really feel that killing 500,000 Iraqi children was worth it? I think it was totally worth it. They killed 500,000 children alone when they came back the second time and wiped out Iraq. And they did, even to this day, they're divvying up the oil right now. This is crazy, bro. Well, it was this early. On Saturday, it was this side was going crazy. Anyway. So, what's the point I'm trying to say? I know there's a lot of information and people are probably snoozing, but if you like geopolitics, it's here for you. If not, I don't know what to tell you. But there are a lot of people that talk about the white man's going to be going to slavery and all that stuff. If you want it, watch it.
But the importance of this information is to give you a vivid depiction of the process of obtaining the kingdom.
Yes, because we haven't gotten to the meat and potatoes. We don't know how it's setting up.
How do we relate? Because you're reading the Bible like this is just it's angels out there fighting this, and it's a whole bunch of crises in the air and spaceships. There's spaceships and there's people shooting lasers out their hands. Like, wow, Bible's awesome. How does that relate to 2024?
Yes.
How can you take this information and relate it? Because there's a dragon that comes out the ocean.
Yeah.
And it has 7 heads and 10 horns and it has fire. Listen, bro, you better get the reality of what the scriptures is saying. This is the prophet that's seeing this in a vision. But the Bible is written to explain in the last days, to give you the analogy of how it relates to now. That serpent. What is that serpent? Who are those 10 horns?
Yeah, so we'll get it because that's a whole other level.
But we're just breaking down the whore that sits upon the waters on a societal level. On a societal level. It's not It's not Madonna. It's not Fergie. It's not Ice Spice sitting on top of. Matter of fact, when they have certain they have halftime shows.
Super Bowl.
Yeah, Super Bowl. They have ritualistic depictions of these same biblical events of sitting upon the waters, the whore on top of they all on the beast. They do that because they know the information is true, but the scriptures are showing the prophecy. They're just doing a ritualistic, theatrical witchcraft mockery of the event, but it's biblical, and they know this.
So I just want to make sure the fornication is still about these nations participating with the United States for the defrauding of the rest of the world. Because it really goes back to that. It's the defrauding and the taking advantage of the weak. All these coups and governmental overthrows. They're using all these different nations so they can get a piece of the pie. What people don't even realize, they've already talked about in Russia that if they're able to conquer Russia, they're going to split up Russia into 20 smaller countries and break up the countries based upon natural resources. This is what this is all about. To break up Russia and all the countries that are holding on and backing up the United States will get a piece of that money. Will get a piece of that breakup. That's what they're waiting for. Their financial payout. And that's why they're committing spiritual fornication, because they don't give a damn how many millions got to die for that these nations can maintain their sovereignty and get a payout.
So it just says, First Maccabees 8 explains the whole concept.
Not the whole chapter.
No, just really this.
I know where you're going to talk about how Rome does it. Let's try to get past it if we can. Okay. I know what you're saying. I know why you're doing it. But we'll never get through this.
I get it.
Okay, so it says, and the inhabitants of the earth. Read on.
It says, Revelation chapter 17, verse 2. It says, with whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication, and the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of her fornication.
The wine of her fornication.
The wine is an influence. It's the influence of American policy. the influence of democracy, the influence of the propaganda that's been set up to paint Russia and Putin like the villain, and Zelensky and Ukraine and United States as the heroes.
That's media framing. That's media.
Exactly. That's the why. That's the influence that is spell everybody's up under, thinking that what you see on television is actually true.
The world is a stage.
So let this go and go to Habakkuk chapter 2, verse 5 through 10.
And why are we going here?
We're going to explain this wine and this influence and this policy and what is the intention behind the wine influence and the policy that these foreign kings and nations are locking into and submitting themselves to.
And Habakkuk is
Habakkuk. Habakkuk's in the Old Testament.
Into the Old Testament, right?
Yeah, towards the end.
In the black book, what page is that?
The black book.
653.
Page 653 in the black book, the black Bible? Right here, right? Yeah. What page are we at? Okay. 653. Okay. 654, whatever. Let's call the page out to make it easier to find.
Read that, Habakkuk 2 and 5. 2 and 5 through 10.
Habakkuk chapter 2, verse 5. Yea, also, because he transgresseth by wine.
Listen, the so-called white man transgresses. He goes left by his propaganda, by his influence, by his policies, and how he dresses the policies up. It has been known for years that America is the one that sits back here and fights for the freedom of all people. When in actuality, this country is an imperialistic nation-dominating country like every other nation before them and every other nation after them.
There's nothing new on this.
When you read the scriptures about how did the beast do it, how did the beast sit back here, America accomplish what it's accomplished, it's based upon propaganda. The way everybody looks at America as the great savior of the earth, when in actuality, America is dominating and destroying every country that they get their hands and grips on. And they destroy it through their policies, through their propaganda, and also lately through their NGOs, their non-governmental organization. Their non-governmental organizations are spread all throughout the world. There's NGOs that are run by the elite and rich in the United States that their sole purpose is to sit back here and throw off balance all of the individuals, all the countries and sovereignty of different nations. Okay? I don't know if y'all ever heard about the Arab Spring. The Arab Spring was a period of time in the early, I would say 2011 period of time, when all of these Arab countries were falling apart and breaking down. And the policies of these countries were breaking, like Libya. Libya fell, Muammar Gaddafi fell. They kept having all these coups get set up
in Arabia
simultaneously in the Saudi Arabian region.
That's when they were pushing that. I know in our school, in middle school, they kept pushing this girl who was writing, I guess, poems about wanting to go to school and taking her job off. And
her jihad, yeah.
Yeah, and that's how she showed her expression of liberty, and she didn't want that taken away from her.
And all of those scenarios were governmental finance and backed coups disguised by governmental agencies that are there to help out the government and help out the people in the city.
They're disseminating these different movements through small groups that they
young
finance.
People.
They finance
these young people, and they teach you how to overthrow governments. Through having these little groups coming together and protesting, and having the protesting live on television, and then sitting back here and instigating the police. They're trained to instigate the police. When the police are instigated, then all of a sudden it's live. They're seeing how the government's corrupt, and they get the whole world against these governments. Then they got to get out of here, and they set up a coup without the United States ever having to stop down in that country.
Propaganda, by definition. Propaganda. Information,
yes, Soros and them.
Especially or a biased or misleading nature, used to promote or publicize a particular political cause or point of view. That's what propaganda is for those guys.
So this is how the United States transgresses by wine. Their influence, and they're able to sit back and go from country to country without having to physically bring weapons to the situation.
Yeah.
And they can overthrow a country just with philosophies that are against the sovereign country's philosophies and approaches. So read verse 5 again from the top.
Con, Habakkuk chapter 2, verse 5. Yea, also, because he transgresseth by wine, he is a proud man, neither keepeth at home.
He says this country never stays at home. They're always in different countries, starting other wars, creating other type of conflicts. They never just can stick to United States policy. The last time the United States just was neutral in most outside wars was in the early 1900s. The late 1800s, early 1900s, the United States just focused on the United States. Then they start branching out to the Philippines. Then they start branching out a little bit outside of their periphery, but they stayed in the United States in the late 1800s, early 19s. It took a lot to get them to fight in the First World War. It took a lot. Because their policy was, we're going to stay here, take care of our own, look after each other. And then World War I and World War II changed it. And after that, they became a global empire, so going all around the world, dominating different countries.
The police of the earth.
Con. And they feel, and what's being propagandized is that every country should have the opportunity for democracy. In actuality, every country is going to get taken advantage of economically and socially and spiritually if you choose democracy. Anyway, let's continue.
Middle of verse 5. Who enlargeth his desire as hell.
So now wherever he goes, hell follows him. What is hell? Subjugation, economic slavery, debt slaves.
Yeah.
This is what all these countries that are operating under this NATO umbrella, this EU umbrella, operating as allies to the United States or subservient underlords, you are a slave and a servant to these heads, to this policy. Okay, but read on.
And is as death.
Because wherever he goes, the nation doesn't thrive. The nation doesn't sustain itself. Read on.
And cannot be satisfied.
And this is why having control over all this jurisdiction from the West all the way even to Europe and Ukraine isn't enough. Okay? Read on.
But gathereth unto him all nations, and heapeth unto him all people.
And this ties into Revelation chapter 17. But all the nations cleaving up to the whore. All the waters that the whore has control over. All the nations the whore has control over. Read on.
Verse 6. Shall not all these take up a parable against him, and a taunting proverb against him, and say, Woe to him that increaseth that which is not his.
And he's saying, destruction comes to this country because they keep taking and having jurisdiction and power over things that aren't theirs.
The same thing that happened to the Native Americans in the land, continentally, is the same policy or process that happened to all the indigenous peoples on the earth.
And this is why he says, because of unrighteous dealings and injuries, is why the kingdom is translated from one kingdom to another.
It's like Manifest Destiny was here, and now Manifest Destiny is
everywhere.
It's
every damn where. Everywhere they put their hands to, the goal is to dominate and control and take the natural resources of every country around it. But it's disguised.
A parasite, yeah.
But it's disguised under liberty, freedom. We're trying to liberate and give Iraq freedom. We're trying to liberate and give freedom to Ukraine. All of that is based, but it's spoken about that way. But really, they're destroying empire.
And you know how it's true? Because the countries never get better. You say, I'm coming to save you. You're even scared. I'm coming to save you. I'm coming to save you, you can't eat no more. What kind of saving is that?
Listen, Gaddafi, Muammar Gaddafi, for instance. They said he was a dictator, but everybody had free college. When they got married, they were given $30,000 to buy a home and get themselves together. They don't tell you that.
High literacy rates?
Listen, there was high literacy rate. There was poverty was low. But what happened is he tried to sit back and get a global African dollar that everybody in Africa can spend. And in that Africa, a couple years later, he's dead.
So,
and he was masked and called a dictator, but he wasn't. Now, human trafficking is at an all-time high in Libya.
Yep.
Now the Libyans are poor and broke and destitute.
there's no.
So what good was the liberation of Libya but to take out Gaddafi and make it one of the broke, war-torn country that's ran by warlords? That's how it is across the board all around the world. So he's like, listen, destruction to the person that increases that which is not his. Read on.
God, woe unto him that increaseth that which is not his. How long?
How long can this country keep taking and exploiting and expanding before the Most High says enough is enough? Read on. Man,
And to him that ladeth himself with thick clay.
I mean, the sin is thicker and thicker and thicker. The bodies, the death tolls, the corruption
And the
is getting
filth.
thicker and thicker and thicker.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Read on.
Verse 7. Shall they not rise up suddenly that shall bite thee?
He says, suddenly they're going to look up and all that consuming and taking advantage of and pillaging and thieving and corruption is going to bite them in the tail. Read on.
And awake that shall vex thee?
That which you sow, that shall thou what?
Also
Reap.
reap.
You shall also reap.
Huh?
That energy,
Yep.
those crimes, that demonic taking over of people,
And the vexation of others
and
is going
the-
to come back to you.
and the destroy of nuclear families and traditions
Yep.
that keep societies at peace, and the destruction of cultures, that same negative energy is coming back to the person that gave that negative energy.
God. Let's keep going.
God, middle of 7. And thou shalt be for booties unto them.
Booties
that
is just talking about eventually America's going to be spoiled like they've been spoiling. Booty is like the reward of
Being plundered.
a capture or plundering. Exactly. He says, because we've been looting the rest of the world, eventually we're going to be looted ourselves. Read on.
Verse 8. Because thou hast spoiled many
It's
nations,
telling you the same thing we just said. Read on.
all the remnant of the people shall spoil thee.
When it says the nations are going to be transferred from one kingdom to another, this is what he said. All the riches, power, and influence is going to leave this country and go to the next country that gets the power. Read on.
God, because of men's blood.
Because of the violence towards the innocent. The blood of the innocent is why the Most High is doing this or about to do this.
And
Read
I
on.
got rid of this kingdom, by definition. A country, state, or territory ruled by a king or a queen. It's just simply governmental authority.
Exactly.
There aren't any more kings and queens.
God.
So now it's ruled by what? Ruled by governments, presidents, and then really ruled by what? Ruled by the banking system. And then people that rule the bank. Those are the new
Yeah.
kings and queens of the earth.
God. Read on.
God, middle of 8. And for the violence of the land.
The violence and all the innocent bloodshed, proxy wars, all the violence in these countries that are instigated from within by America being that foreign invader. Read on.
Of the city. And of all that dwell therein.
Read on.
Woe unto him that coveteth an evil covetousness to his house.
Destruction comes to the country that has an evil covetousness towards his policies. And if since the 40s, America has just been capitalizing and taking advantage of one country to another, where it was the coup and the coup of Jacobo Arbenz in Guatemala, all of the indigenous folks of Central and South America, all of the coups there, all of the destruction in Indonesia. I mean, Vietnam, all of it. It's been about controlling different jurisdictions and pillaging these countries from their natural resources.
And taking out heads of state and replacing them with other puppet heads of state.
So that they can sit back here and still exploit
and extract
the land
Come
and the resources for dirt cheap prices.
on.
Let's keep going.
God, middle of verse 9. That he may set his nest on high. That he may be delivered from the power of evil.
To set your nest on high is to be untouchable. They talk about in the 90s when America was whipping up on Iraq, is their goal was to have full spectrum domination.
Full Dominance con.
They wanted full spectrum dominance in all arenas of the world to be that complete world superpower. But in order to have complete hegemony, you got to take out Russia. And you got to keep breaking and crippling China. If you break those two superpowers, you got the rest of the world.
Full dominance.
Now you know why that snare with Taiwan and China is always happening. Because the United States is back in Taiwan, aggravating China, getting China distracted, and they're aggravating Russia with Ukraine. These two scenarios were created to weaken these superpowers and to get a foot into either one of these places. Both if they can get it.
So it's global chess.
But they know if they can break Russia, China will fall in line. They know that. Anyway, let's continue. And as all this matches, a war is not sitting back here and got a Russian T-shirt under his garment, our outfit. I don't have the Russian flag under my snare. I'm not a pro Ivan Drago fan. All I'm trying to say is
pro Christ, pro Israelites.
Scripturally, all we're doing is showing what the Bible is saying and showing how this war is going down. So we start knowing and seeing when these things happen the way they happen, to get ready.
And we're showing that the Bible is a book of prophecy. When you said that the Bible, oh, that's a 4,000-year-old book. Why do you read that book? Because this book, all the prophecies, the book from the beginning,
it's tying in right now.
The prophecies in this Bible, beginning to end, are going to come to pass. This is why this is the truth. The Bible. This is why the truth. Turn up. This is why it's the truth.
Yes.
Because you can read the Bible from Genesis, Revelations, and all this information is accurate to the date.
Yes.
That's why I have to say, I don't know what religion to do. I don't know what religion to be in. It's not about religion. It's about the scriptures.
Listen, if you guys can hold on, it's going to ramp up very quickly in these next two chapters. I know everybody's like this. They're spinning, man. Like, man, it's a lot of words, a lot of names, a lot of kingdoms, a lot of information. Listen, it's a dense class. Thank you for toughing it out and thugging it out, everybody in TV land and Israel in class. Thank you. It almost feel like people like, I mean, they're hearing that's what it sounds. I feel this from the people.
Listen,
maybe I'm wrong.
This all came from when Rocky fought Ivan Drago out.
Okay.
He fought Ivan Drago out, and they had that dynamic.
That was the start. That was the start of the prophecy.
That was the start of all the prophecy.
Come on, stop.
That's how you know. I'm
like, come on. Is he serious?
I'm trying to lighten up a little bit.
I was like, what? So you talking about when Apollo died? When
Apollo died, that was symbolic of a black man in America falling and suffering in the ghettos out of this nation.
Oh my goodness. Now listen, the last 2 minutes of this conversation, throw it in the trash can. Throw it in the trash can. It's not part of the breakdown, I promise.
That's how we get this information. That we watch a lot of movies.
Okay, let's finish Habakkuk 2, man.
His son came back. Returning through what's that dude? Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan, the guy who fought Creed.
Yeah.
That's the return of a black man in America.
Now it's 3 minutes we throw in the trash can. Throwing 3 minutes in the trash. And let's get back to serious.
Jordan, right? Michael B.
Yes, but let's
B for Bible. Right?
Okay, let's continue, y'all. Listen, I get why he's doing it, just to lighten things up.
People do that on. They have these wacky breakdowns online. People they come up with those kind of wacky breakdowns, and people are like, man, this is amazing information. But we're showing biblically through news and through current events how the Bible is accurate.
Okay, so let's get verse 10.
We're back.
Habakkuk chapter 2, verse 10. Thou hast consulted shame to thy house by cutting off many people.
Listen. America has brought shame to them because they've cut off and destroyed many countries, many people. Millions upon millions of people have died and suffered
and can't eat
through American economic policies. And that is the truth. People in Syria right now are struggling to survive right now because half the country is controlled by United States, either United States or United States-backed oppositional governments trying to take over Syria. They don't tell you this. But ISIS and all these different groups are CIA-backed. And they're out here trying to sit back and take out the leader of Syria. They're bombing Syria. Israel's bombing Syria. All these countries are going at this country because it has all rich natural resources. Wheat, oil supplies. The people are suffering. The president's trying to keep it together. He needs help from Russia to sit back and keep getting overthrown. This is happening consistently all around the world.
What about Gaza?
So people are suffering majorly in this struggle for power and dominance on earth. Okay? So, you finished verse 10, right? Go to Job chapter 20.
You sin against thy soul.
Huh?
That was the last.
Yeah. So go Job chapter 20, verse 15, and then 19 through 22.
So, War, are you saying that the Most High showed these end of world events to all the different prophets?
And that's what we're reading. All these different chapters is tapping into just different prophets and their vision of the end times. It's all, listen, you'll read the same patterns, the same consistent explanations about the entire world. Now, we're going to read in Job chapter 20, and it's talking about the wicked man, the wicked individual in leadership, and you're going to see how this ties into the wicked man today. Job 20 and 15.
Job chapter 20 and verse 15. He has swallowed down riches.
The wicked man continues to swallow down riches. Riches on earth is all the natural resources you need to continue being the forefront leader in all the industries on the earth. Everything's going green now, right? Everything's Tesla this and green this and green this. So in order to get a green economy, you need cobalt, you need lithium, you need minerals to sustain this green movement.
Your iPhone.
So you know what? That's the same thing. So where do you get these minerals? Africa. Where do you get these minerals? Bolivia. Bolivia is really rich in cobalt or lithium, one of the two. And they try to sit back here and set up a color revolution in Bolivia just like 6 months ago.
They prepped for it.
But they prepped for it and they circumvented it. There was a color revolution in Venezuela. It didn't go right with Maduro just 2 months ago. Well, you'll hear Maduro is this evil, wicked guy, when in actuality, he's trying to sit back here and protect himself from voter fraud, like just happened in the United States 4 years ago.
Dominion.
So what's the whole point? All these countries that you're reading about where these uprisings are happening, when you hear about an uprising on television in another country, just know that's a color revolution trying to brew. And that color revolution is trying to happen because America wants their hands on the natural resources first. So this green revolution is going. They're at war with China and Russia to get all the control of the lithium and cobalt all around the world.
It's a race to certain particular minerals based off the degree of technology they want to push. And they have an economic policy. This is going to be the economic direction we're going to, the technological direction we're going to.
And whenever they make these things, they make these policies up. They sit back here and amplify manufacturing.
Exactly.
And they change phases, which means they need different natural resources. So let's go to these different countries to exploit so we can stay being on top in this particular industry.
And this is where these political upheavals happen.
Yes.
They only happen.
Why it happens.
The political upheavals only happen where they have a resource necessary. For example, you're dealing with
Venezuela is heavy in oil.
Yeah.
Venezuela is heavy in oil.
Yeah.
Bolivia was heavy in I think it was in cobalt. These African countries have lithium, cobalt, the parts you need for in Rwanda. All that stuff was going down. They had the component for cell phones. Remember that Hotel Rwanda, all that, the quote unquote tragedies in Rwanda? They were fighting over power or control of the mind where they can sit back here and get the cell phones. What about those people?
Yeah.
And then they fudged. Not going into this, but they fudge how many people died. That was a lie. And they sit back here and there's records to prove it. But the myth is out there. Anyway, I don't want to go into that because that's another hour and a half talk. But what was you going to say?
No, I was going to say, we just left what was it, P country, right? We just left, there was a poppy seed, opiates. We had an opioid crisis in America. All the opioid, we got the pharma.
Big pharma
in the States needed opium. They needed it to manufacture their...
Oh, that was Afghanistan.
Hey, there we go. So we went to Afghanistan. Was it to get these terrorists, or was it we had guns and we had M16s protecting poppy plants, protecting
Yes.
poppy seeds.
That was an aspect of it.
Yeah, but it was the same. It was millions and millions of dollars because our big pharma needed those resources. They needed that plant to manufacture medicines.
Listen, medicines, the good medicines and the bad medicines.
And the bad
They
ones,
were sitting back. Listen, what people don't want to understand is, so-called white man runs the drug game too. They run the drug cartels in Central and South America also. They run the cartels getting the opium over to the Americas also. They're getting money all different ways out. And they were using the dirty money in the Iran-Contra scandals to sit back and finance their CIA coups. Anyway, man, I'm going too much into this. Where are we at? So, verse 15.
Job chapter 20 and verse 15. He has swallowed down riches, and he shall vomit them up again.
Mosiah is saying, this is prophecy. When you're reading Job, yeah, you're reading about Zophar talking to Job. But he's prophesying in the midst of this conversation. Esau is sitting back here, swallowing down riches, consuming all the natural resources of the nations, and the Most High is going to force them to vomit it back up when they get their power down the line. Read on.
Transferring of the kingdom.
Con. When it's that transforming or transferring of the power.
Yeah.
Read on.
Con. He has swallowed down riches, and he shall vomit them up again. The Most High shall cast them out of his belly.
The Most High is going to sit back here and set the scene for America to give up their power and they lose sovereignty. Jump from there and go to verse 19.
Verse 19. Because he have oppressed and have forsaken the poor.
It goes back into the same thing. The Most High is going to force these riches up because they got the riches illegally.
Yeah.
The riches were earned from robbing and stealing and
dishonorable.
Dishonorable measures and approaches. Yeah. And because of it, because the poor were oppressed, the poor were taken advantage of. Read on.
Because he hath violently taken away an house which he buildeth not.
He's taken down countries, taken down empires, taken down different nations through his policy. Read on.
Surely he shall not feel quietness in his belly.
He says, because of all the stealing and the robbing, now there's not going to be any peace of mind around him. He's going to always be paranoid about the next threat, about the next country that's going to do to them they've been doing to other people. Read on.
He shall not save of that which he desires.
You're not going to have the peace and control and full spectrum domination that you think you're going to have.
And this goes back to your class that you did about Cain.
Yep.
Dealing with how Cain changed the vibration of the earth. And Cain, once he left and built the city of God and built his land, he started to do what? He started to destroy different tribes of people that were on the earth. Different innocent tribes of people, he would take advantage, kill, murder, and rob.
Hope it works.
That was that spirit of Cain.
Huh.
We're that same spirit in modern times.
Yep.
Kill, murder, and rob.
Yeah. So let's keep going.
Verse 21. There shall none of his meat be left.
None of his resources, America's resources, is going to be left. Read on.
Therefore shall no man look for his goods.
Because he's going to, when America falls, the power translates to another kingdom. Read on.
In the fullness of his sufficiency, he shall be in straits.
He says, when he gets to the height of his power and his comfort, is going to be when he's exposed and where he's going to be in straits. When he's at his peak, that's going to be the beginning of his fall, and he's going to be in economic straits, military straits. Listen, right now, they don't have the military hardware to compete with Russia.
Because we don't manufacture anything. That's why he says none shall want his goods. Because the common people no longer have, we're a service-based economy.
Yes.
We're not a manufacturing economy. Mm-hmm. So because we have the ability, the common man doesn't have the ability to manufacture anything on a worldwide level, we can't distribute our goods. We're a consumer society. We consume goods, we don't manufacture goods.
Exactly. So what's happening right now is, as we're reading the end of this verse 22, is explaining the decline of the American empire.
Wow.
Now we read in Matthew chapter 24 about these wars and rumors of wars. We read in Joel chapter 3 verse 9 through 11 about it's time to prepare for war. And we've been preparing for war really since the Cold War in 1945 to present day. Now we're going to start talking about these wars. The wars that lead up to the end. Let all that go. We'll be getting back to Job in a little bit, though. But we're going to go to 2nd Esdras in the Apocrypha.
What page are we going to?
It is chapter 15, verse 34 through 44.
Officers, what page is that? In the red book.
2nd Esdras, chapter 15, verse 34 through 44.
Page 33.
Come. 2nd Ezra chapter 15 and verse 34. Behold, clouds from the east.
He says, behold, clouds from the east, read on,
And from the north.
and from the north, read on,
Unto the south.
and unto the south, clouds in the north, east, south, read on.
And they are very horrible to look upon.
He says, these clouds are very horrible to look upon. Read on.
Full of wrath and storm.
Full of wrath and storm. Now I was going to clarify in verse 35 what the hell kind of storms or what the hell kind of clouds are these that are this scary. Are there some damn thunder clouds? What's making these clouds look scary? Read verse 35.
Come. They shall smite one upon another.
Have you ever seen cumulus clouds and cirrus clouds fighting each other?
No.
For jurisdiction over the clouds in the sky? He's not talking about literal clouds. He's talking about warplanes. Warplanes from different countries. From the north to the south and to the east. There's going to be warplanes up in the sky that's going to look terrifying because they're going to war and they're going to have dogfights up in the sky fighting for air supremacy and territory up in the skies. This is showing you an aspect of world war. It says countries from the north, countries from the south, countries from the east are going to be fighting and killing each other in the midst of war. Read on.
And they shall smite down a great multitude of stars upon the earth.
He says, and they shall smite down a great multitude of stars on earth. Now you're going to start seeing a lot of different times you hear about stars. Just like these clouds aren't real clouds, these stars aren't real stars. These stars are talking about the bombs that are attached to these warplanes. And there's going to be a lot of bombs, Iskander missiles, all type of bombs attached to these warplanes that are going to be engaged in dogfights and wars in a world war. When it says planes in the north, south, and the east, that's telling you all the different territories that has to get equipped to go and fight in these wars. This is a world war. Read on.
And they shall smite down a great multitude of stars upon the earth, even their own stars.
He says a lot of stars are going to be dropped down on the earth. What does that mean? So these planes are fighting up in the air to get into position to drop bombs on earth.
And it looks like stars from...
Well, here we go. I'm going to show you online how the stars look.
Visually, that's how it looks.
Listen, if you look online, you'll see an example. Matter of fact, let me show you this one first. That looks like a star.
Like a falling star.
If you guys can look online, Sword of Truth San Antonio, it'll let you know why it says stars are coming from the clouds. Sword of Truth San Antonio, take a look because it fits a little better and it makes a little sense when you see stars. It says stars are coming from the air in planes coming down on the earth. Well, now, if it's pitch black outside and all you see is this light, it looks like a falling star from a distance.
Now, that's daytime.
You got to
I see
understand,
it
these
dark.
prophets that was writing in the 500 BC time, did they know about Iskander missiles and Patriot missiles
Nope.
and warplanes? They don't know about that. Like, what? These clouds are moving. What's going on here? These clouds are moving. These stars are falling. These clouds are dropping stars
See that?
on the ground. You got to understand, they didn't know how to explain what they were seeing.
It's an ancient breakdown. It's an ancient perspective on modern technology.
So this is a star about to hit the ground. Really, it's a bomb about to destroy certain parts of a city. You ever seen those old wartime pictures in the 90s when the United States was bombing Iraq during that shock and awe time? And you usually saw these like stars shooting out of the sky, going like this. Ah! Ah! You saw hundreds of these bombs up in the air, and they looked like stars.
Like fireworks.
Like fireworks.
Yeah.
Here's another example of stars. It looks like fireworks in the middle of the sky.
Yeah.
It's smoke behind it, but what's being explained is the star. That looks like a star from a distance. Heck yeah, it looks like a star. In actuality, it's a missile that's being launched from a plane. Now, you'll read other accounts where these missiles are being shot out from different type of machinery. But in 2nd Ezra explains that these bombs are coming from planes. Okay? So read verse 35 again.
Con, 2nd Ezra 15 and 35. They shall smite one upon another.
So these planes are going at each other in war. Read on.
And they shall smite down a great multitude of stars upon the earth.
He said, but they're going to be sending out in the midst of this war scenario. They're going to sit back here and drop bombs in Russia, drop bombs in the NATO countries, drop bombs all around the world in World War. And the way the theme is going, Europe is going to catch the brunt of this war first. Europe's going to catch this war like it's been catching all these other world wars. The world wars start in Europe first, and then they make their way to the United States.
Out.
Then the United States gets pulled into it. That's for the last two that happened this way. Okay? We're going to be going back and forth in these pictures. But let's continue.
Even their own star, and blood shall be from the sword unto the belly.
He says, in blood, listen, it's going to be bloody. Because when these bombs come, listen, have y'all been watching any of the news with the Israelis bombing the Palestinians? These children are all busted up, no legs, no arms, body parts flying everywhere. That's what happens when bombs hit territories with civilians. And this is what's going to be happening when these wars ramp up. When the world war kicks in. Read on.
And dung of men unto camel's hoof.
He says, and the dung of men unto the camel's hoof. The hoof is like the thigh of the camel. He's just saying body parts are going to be splattered all around as high as the damn camel's thigh. That's how much body parts and blown away pieces of humans are going to be spread around the place in these war-torn cities.
Mass grave.
It's going to be nothing but, I'm telling you, if you sit back here on Twitter and just watch what's happening in Gaza, and then multiply that by 5, people are sitting there, they're pulling people out of the rubble. People have no arms, one arm, one leg missing. This is what's happening now. This is what the scriptures are saying. The dung of men onto the camel's hoof. When it says the dung of men is where? Where is the dung situated in human beings? In their stomach. So that means when the bombs are dropping, guess what's being exposed? The guts. That's what it means. Guts are going to be exposed. Stomach, body parts split in half. That's war. You ever see those Vietnam movies? You step on mines, what happens?
You see it all.
Your body's kaput. You're split in two. This is what's going to happen when these bombs start dropping when these wars in Europe really start ramping up. Read on.
Verse 37. And there shall be great fearfulness and trembling upon the earth.
And we talked about it. We talked about it in Matthew 24 about these conscriptions, people getting drafted into the military. There's going to be fearfulness on earth. The draft, is your city going to get bombed next? Are you going to sit back here and hear these alarms, these war sirens, that these planes are coming out here, and these bombs are coming out? That's great terribleness and fear scattered all throughout the world. Read that verse again.
Verse 37. And there shall be great fearfulness and trembling upon the earth, and they that see the wrath shall be afraid.
People are going to be witnessing all of this death all around the world. The revolution will be televised for a period of time. You're going to be watching it on TV or you're going to be experiencing it. Then the shit's getting real. Now the shit's not hitting the fan no more. Now there's legitimate fear on earth. What are you going to do about it? What are we going to do about it? Read on.
And trembling shall come upon them.
Read on.
And then shall there come great storms from the south and from the north and from another part from the west.
He says now, just like we talked about. Read that verse again. Verse 38.
Verse 38. And there shall come great storms from the south and from the north and from another part from the west.
Now the war expands. The first verse said the north, the south, and the east. Now we said it's further south, and it's more from the north, and the west is getting into this now. Now the war is expanding on a greater level. If it's the west is getting involved, now the United States is getting involved. All the countries from the north, south, east, and west now is full-fledged. Listen, all I can tell you is verse 34 can be happening already. People from the south, that's Israel. Hezbollah's coming next, which is in Lebanon. Southeast is Iran. East is Russia. North is NATO. All the NATO countries. That's already happening now. He said there's going to be an escalation with the West is going to get full-fledged involved. We'll have more countries from the South are going to get involved. He's telling you how it's going to happen. Read on.
Verse 39. And strong winds shall arise from the east and shall open it.
Matter of fact, hold this.
Okay.
So now what's happening is the entire world is going to be in on this fight. This is a global war at this time in verse 38. Now, as this global war is ramping up, and this thing is getting more serious by the day. We talked about earlier in Revelation 17, we're going to go back to this now and get verse 16 and 17. Because where we're going at now in this war, there's still allies for the American side, and there's allies for the antagonist side. Okay? Read this in Revelation 17, verse 16 and 17.
Come.
I know you're writing, man.
Revelation chapter 17 and verse 16 reads.
Revelations chapter 17. Because now we're in full-fledged war mode with all the nations being involved. Read on.
Come.
And at this point, America still has many allies on their side going against the nation and the objects of their focus. We can kind of surmise what it is, but we can't 1,000% prove it yet. But read on.
Come. Revelation chapter 17 and verse 16 reads, And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast.
The 10 horns. Horns are little powers. These 10 horns that are upon this beast support the beast. Support America. All those nations and kindreds and tongues that are with NATO or the European Union or are in support of the United States are the 10 horns. The beast is the so-called white man is America. The 10 horns are the countries on the outside that defend and protect United States interests.
Allies.
So, read verse 16 again.
Come. Revelation chapter 17 and verse 16 reads, And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast.
So, what's going to happen? In the midst of this war, what's going to change? Read it.
These shall hate the whore.
All of a sudden, they're going to hate the whore that they were supporting. There's going to be a change in direction of the war. Where they're going to have the United States and its allies. We can say Russia, but, we can't really prove it. But in the midst of this final World War III, all signs kind of directs us to Russia. Because because the scripture also says Russia will be the last white world power on earth, and we can prove that in the scriptures. So in the midst of this fighting for power and control, the United States allies are going to end up hating the whore. Why would that happen? Because they're losing? Because their people are suffering? Because of all the massive body count that's stacking up for their nations? Listen, I already explained that Germany economically is falling apart. So is France. So is Italy. People thought the sanctions were going to break Russia, but the sanctions are breaking the European countries that are trying to back Russia. And really, the United States is banking and getting more profit off of this than Europe is right now. So Europe is already economically collapsing. By the time we get to these wars, Europe is going to sit back here and completely collapse. And that's going to get the rest of the people to turn on America and learn to hate the war in the midst of these wars, in the midst of the fighting. Read on.
These shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked.
And then what's going to happen is they're going to hate the whore, and all their energy and infamy and their weaponry is going to be turned on the United States. Read on.
And shall eat her flesh, and burn her with fire.
We're going to sit back and find out what that fire is. That fire is thermonuclear destruction. All these nations are nuclear capable. France is nuclear capable. Britain is nuclear capable. Germany, all of NATO is nuclear capable. And what's going to happen is, in the midst of fighting Russia, they're going to stop what they're doing and focus on America, and they're going to aim all their weaponry towards America. That's how it's going to happen.
And if you study Roman history, God has found out that the different families and the different people of authority and power within the Roman power structure always assassinate each other. That is a theme. That's a constant theme in Roman history.
There's a lot
America
of
is an extension of the Roman Empire.
And there's a lot of different breakdowns we'd have to kind of like add on to this for the picture to be completely clear. But as far as in war, the war ramps up, all the countries get brought in, and then the tide's going to turn, and everybody's going to turn against America, and all their weaponry, all their nuclear capability is going to be going west.
This is where all this is the process.
This is the process of getting us to the kingdom. We can't even get to Christ until we get to this part first. All the wars and the World War III and all the famines and suffering has to happen before Christ comes in, and then when Christ comes, there's way more to it after that. Right. So, this is what's happening so far. This is the turning point. This is literally the beginning of America about to just turn and fall. Okay? So, read verse 17 now.
Verse 17. For the Most High have put in their hearts to fulfill His will.
So what's happening? That change of tide comes from the Most High. The Most High is going to change these nations' hearts on a sudden and get them to turn on America. Whereas right now everybody's allies and it's the coalition of the willing and everybody's there in Kumbaya, He's going to change their hearts because the Most High is in control of all kings. I think that's in Proverbs 21.
No, you want to Obadiah where it says all the nations round about thee will despise you?
Yeah, but hold on. Give me Proverbs 21 and 1. And yes, Proverbs 21 and 1.
Proverbs chapter 21, verse 1. The king's heart is in the hand of the Most High.
The king's heart, the king's mind, is in the hands of the Most High. The Most High has control over all these nations about what they're going to do, what they're going to implement, when they're going to turn on the United States. The Most High is controlling all of these scenarios as the war is progressing. So as the war is getting worse, He's going to have all these nations turn on America, and all their nukes are going that direction. Let that go and go back to Revelation 17 and 17.
God. Revelation chapter 17 and verse 17 reads, For the Most High have put in their hearts to fulfill His will and to agree.
And He says He put it in their mind to agree with the direction the Most High wants them to agree to. Read on.
And give their kingdom unto the beast.
And that's the thing. We'll read on. Matter of fact, are you done with that verse? No, read on.
Until the words of the Most High shall be fulfilled.
God. So let that go and go to Jeremiah now, chapter 50. Jeremiah chapter 50, verse 14 through 16.
Jeremiah chapter 50, verse 14.
Jeremiah 50,
He's there.
verse 14. Jeremiah 50, verse 9, and then 14 through 16.
Jeremiah chapter 50, verse 9. For lo, I will raise and cause to come up against Babylon an assembly of great nations.
Another name for Babylon. Matter of fact, give me Psalms 137.
Yeah.
Another word for Babylon is Edom, so-called white man. Okay, so when we're sitting back here reading about Babylon,
Verse 8.
huh?
Actually, verse 7. 7 minutes.
Yeah, read that.
You want to start at 7?
Yeah, 7 and 8.
So the
Psalms
Bible
137.
So the Bible breaks itself down, right?
Exactly. So we don't have to force this. No. We got to go back. Well, yeah, we'll go back to it. Yeah, we're fine.
Verse 1, then 7.
Psalms 137.
Verse 1 goes to Babylon, then verse 7 and 8 go detail for detail.
So give me 1 and verse 7 and 8.
Come. Psalms 137 and verse 1. By the rivers of Babylon, there we sat down. Yeah, we wept when we remember Zion.
So the people, this message is concerning Babylon, in Babylon. Read on.
Verse 7. Remember, O Lord, the children of Edom, and the day of Jerusalem.
The children of Edom. Edom is the nation and the seed of Esau.
Yeah.
That was red. That red nation. So Esau is the man. Esau is the nation of that man. Okay. Edom is Adawam, which means red. So okay, we're talking about Edom now. Read on.
Who said, raise it, even to the foundation thereof.
This is just talking about when Esau saw us fall in 586 BC. They praised the day. They were happy. They were excited at our downfall. Read on.
O daughter of Babylon.
But he's connecting Edom, and another way of explaining who Edom is to call them Babylon.
The daughter of Babylon.
They're the daughter of Babylon, or the same spirit
Second coming.
of the Babylonian nation. So when you're sitting back here reading in Jeremiah, and we're talking about Babylon, you got to understand Babylon. This prophecy wasn't about the Babylonian kingdom in the 500 BC time. This is a Babylonian kingdom that was going to run the world and call themselves America in the 2024 time. Okay, what's that? What does it say? But keep reading in that verse 8.
Verse 8. O daughter of Babylon, who art to be destroyed.
The daughter of Babylon is to be destroyed. Read on.
Happy shall he be that rewardeth thee as thou hast served.
Babylon's going to be destroyed, but he's talking about Edom being the daughter of Babylon. Yeah, it's cool. It's cool. It's the same thing. We're good. Now let that go and go back to Jeremiah chapter 50, verse 9.
Jeremiah chapter 50, verse 9. For lo, I will raise and cause to come up against Babylon an assembly of great nations from the north country.
He says the nations are going to sit back and turn on America are going to come from the north. The European countries are going to turn on the United States. Read on.
And they shall set and they shall set themselves in array against her.
When the Most High changes their allies' mind towards the United States. Read on.
From thence she shall be taken. Their arrows shall be as of a mighty expert man.
Now he's saying they're arrows because these prophets didn't know how to explain missiles, nuclear weapons. You're going to sit back here and read how they explain bombs as stars and as arrows. There's some more pictures real quick so we can see how these weapons look like arrows. Right here. You look online. This is a Iskander missile.
God.
That looks like a damn arrow.
Oh, yeah.
Right there. He's like, these arrows are going to be turned on America. These nations are going to stop what they're doing, turn on America, and turn their weaponry towards America. Their arrows are going to be turned to them like a mighty expert man. Then it says, none shall return in vain. Meaning all the weapons are going to land. All these bombs are going to land. None of them's going to miss their target. So this is what was that? Yeah.
I was gonna say, so essentially, it's like they're all home-seeking missiles.
Yes.
And they're not.
They're nuclear bombs.
Right.
And these nuclear bombs have trajectories
They're tactical.
and locations, and they set their tactical nukes. Instead of pointing them at Russia, their enemy, they're pointing these tactical nukes now to the United States. But the prophet is calling them arrows.
And they also call it. That's what the military calls it. Also, it's called. There was a movie called Broken
Arrow. Yes.
But this is also in atomicarchive.com. Broken Arrows, nuclear weapon accidents, and atomicarchives.com. One of the words for a nuclear bomb is called an arrow, even in the military.
Yep.
And then when they have a nuclear accident involving a nuclear bomb, the military calls it a broken arrow.
Yep.
Matching the scriptures.
And so he's letting you know. You can look on the images on the screen. You see huge arrows. This is a huge arrow. This is a nuclear weapon right here. This is a big boy right here.
Wow.
Nuclear weapon
Wow.
that's coming out of a silo, out of the ground. Then you have one called Great Satan. The Great Satan is a problem. That's the one by Russia.
Yeah.
This is like it's a Sarmat ICBM, intercontinental ballistic missile, and it weighs 200 tons, and it says has the explosive yield of a 750 kilotons. Is that Hiroshima had only 15 kilotons.
Yeah.
750 kilotons. Hiroshima was wiped out by a 15 kiloton nuclear weapon.
I took out 100,000.
Kinda. So this is insane, and it goes their speed. The problem is they say this bomb can't even be shot down. The United States don't have the weaponry to shoot it down out the sky. And I don't know if you've been watching on the news. There Iskander missiles. Not one of the Russian Iskander ICBMs, which was not nuclear, but a regular bomb, has been destroyed out of the sky. They're too fast. They're too precise. Yeah, the hypersonic. The Kinzhal and the Iskander are hypersonic, and they have not been shot down.
And this is a major problem because when they say a hypersonic, it sounds real technological. But hypersonic missile means it's too fast to shoot down.
It's too fast. It's too fast for the radars to catch on, lock in, engage, and shoot it down.
You don't have the technology to even catch these arrows.
So that's the thing, and that's Russia. But what's happening is all the bombs from all these European nations are going to hit their target.
Yeah.
But what we're trying to do now is just show how these nuclear warheads look like arrows, because the scripture in Jeremiah says all these arrows are going to be shot out like a mighty expert man. Why a mighty expert man? Because if you're shooting arrows, do all your arrows hit the target?
No.
If you're shooting a regular arrow, you're not. But these are expert arrows because they're machine driven and they have coordinates.
Yeah.
You see how it's still locking in the prophecy of 2,500 years ago? It's coming to pass right now. How it's explained. Okay. So jump from verse 9 and go to verse 14.
Jeremiah chapter 50, verse 14. Put yourselves in array against Babylon round about.
Everybody turn your sights on Babylon. Turn your sights on America. Read on.
All ye that bend the bow.
He still goes back into that arrow scenario. Everybody that bends the bow, get ready to go at this person. Okay, read on.
Shoot at her. Spare no arrow.
Spare no bombs.
So all
Spare no
those
weaponry.
facilities and all those tens of thousands that they've been
nuclear
manufacturing, all those are going to be used at one time.
And this is why it's going to be this fire
That
eventually
burns
that's everlasting.
an everlasting fire. What does that sound like?
That sounds like the lake of fire. Nuclear destruction.
Yes.
And all of these are burning at once.
So the thing that you've been taught in church, you've been taught a lot of religion that wasn't detailed, that wasn't biblically sharp and accurate. You're just getting more information from the scriptures versus just singing and dancing and praising. That's all good. It's all good to praise, and I'm not against it.
You're attacking the praising man.
I'm not a praise attacker, bro. I'm not being a hater, bro. Listen, people got to do that. I respect it. But I'm just saying we also got to have knowledge, wisdom, understanding from the scriptures.
About what the scriptures are saying.
What these events are coming in. We got to have knowledge too.
Now let me sit back here and tie in the arrow explanation, so it makes even more sense. We're going to get back to Jeremiah, but let's go back to Job. Let's go back to Job, chapter 20. This Job is going to explain the arrows a lot better, and that bow a lot better. Job 20, verse 23 to 26. Job 20, verse 23 to 26. So we're going here to tie in what we just read in Jeremiah about that bow. He says, all ye that bend the bow, shoot at her and spare no arrows. Let's explain this bow real quick. I know it's getting late, but let's explain the bow. Read that.
Job chapter 20, verse 23. When he is about to fill his belly.
When America is about to sit back here and they're a couple steps away from taking over Russia. Because to fill their belly, they got to consume Russia and China. Then America's belly is completely full. Then all the other countries are in complete dominance.
Full spectrum dominance.
With the United States. So it lets you know why we're so close. Because every other country is subservient to the United States. The only one sitting in their way is Russia and China. When they're about to fill their bellies to the full and get those last two countries, read on.
It says, when he is about to fill his belly, the Most High shall cast the fury of his wrath upon him.
By switching all of his allies against him. You see how all these verses are tying in? Job ties in with Revelations. Revelation ties in with Jeremiah. It all ties in.
Same event.
It's the same event just spoken by a different prophet. Read on.
And shall rain it upon him while he is eating.
While he's in the midst of consuming and empire building and taking and stealing and trying to get some more natural resources, everybody's going to turn on him and destroy him. Read on.
He shall flee from the iron weapon.
Now is letting you know that these arrows were really iron arrows.
It wasn't.
He says America's going to flee from those iron weapons that are turned on the United States. Now we know these arrows aren't just, they're legitimate arrows that are metal, that are iron. Read on.
He shall flee from the iron weapon and the bow of steel.
Then it talks about that bow. The bow is of steel. It's not one of those, no, it's a bow of steel. You want to go online and see what a bow of steel looks like? This is a bow of steel and what it looks like.
It's not Robin Hood.
Exactly. Listen, that's the bow of steel. This steel mechanism that holds the arrows, which are thermonuclear warheads. There is a picture that I got. Matter of fact, this is the bow. Because that is the nuclear weapon right there.
That's the problem.
And that's a nuclear weapon. That's great Satan. And that machine, it has like a mechanism that pulls it up. That's the iron bow. The iron bow that shoots out the missiles of the arrows of steel. This isn't a coincidence. This can't be a coincidence.
And so you're saying that every detail and every word in this book is true.
It's all in the scriptures, and it ties into real life events now.
And when you watch the news, as far as the real events, the news and what's going on in the world, I think you know what's going on in the world.
Yeah,
you're watching world events is biblical prophecy.
And exactly how the sovereignty of nations is going back and forth gives you the clue, the context clues you need to tie in with prophecy. So listen. Read verse 24 again.
Job chapter 20 and verse 24. He shall flee from the iron weapon.
But there's nowhere to flee to. This is going right to the United States. All nations are going to turn their back and start shooting these bombs, and it's over. Kaput.
There's more to the story.
Listen, we're just getting started. We ain't finished with class today.
There's a
lot more.
More and more.
But I'm just trying to show you the steel bows. The steel bows, the metal arrow, the iron arrows are all pointing this way.
And so pretty much
it says the bow of steel shall strike him through, shall hit his lands and countries and destroy him.
we will be touched.
Listen, we're gonna be sitting back here. This is how you know Christ is coming back. When you see these bombs in the air, now it's time for Christ. We're gonna go on that and prove that also. This is why it's gonna be scary as hell. And anybody who wants the kingdom to come, you sure you want it? Because Christ can't come back until this happens. That's why we're sequencing it this way. This has to happen first.
This is the sequence
that leads up to Christ's appearance.
And this is why we tell brothers to study. This is why I tell
you better read the damn Bible. You better learn this book.
To serve your husband because you're being graded by God on how you serve your husband. So we tell officers to be good.
That's the bowl still too.
Oh my God.
That's the bowl still. It's elevated and raised, and all they gotta do is put the weapon inside, and it's gone. That's the bowl of steel.
And these events are going to happen, and so we're being graded right now. How's our outlook? How's our study ethic? What is our sin rate? Do we believe the law of the Lord? Yeah. Are we converting other Israelites? Are we teaching other Israelites? Are we putting our houses in order? All the classes we go through, we have thousands of classes. We don't go into this a lot, but we're here now. We have hundreds of classes. I'm trying to get hype and scare nobody. I think the fear is here. I think the fear is here. We're in Fear Town. And listen. All these women to turn to America, ready to come. Where do we live? Where do we live? In America? Yeah. Military USA? We're right here in the military business. Yeah. And we tell brothers, we have classes about outlook. Stop being sad. Stop being angry. Stop hating your brother. Don't be covetous. Be content. Don't sin. Yeah. Learn your history. Learn your nationality. Come out of the world. Let go of religion. Religion's a waste of time at this point. You better follow this Bible word for word. And love your brother. Treat your family right. Treat your people right, because you want to be a candidate for salvation. The word salvation means to be saved. The whole point of you living right is to be saved from complete annihilation. That's the whole purpose of living right. And if you die, you Most High will bring your spirit back because you were in order with Him. Let's get back. God, it's getting late. I want to get this part. That's a real thing right there. There's a lot of real things happening here. That bow is wild. So listen, we're going to keep going. It's going to get more specific. The person's off. No. Let's go now. Read verse 24 again.
God. Job chapter 20 and verse 24. He shall flee from the iron weapon.
Which is that military nuke that all the countries have. The nukes that all these countries, if I'm not mistaken, Russia has over like 200 to 300 nukes. And all these countries got like massive amounts of nukes. Soviet era nukes and present day era nukes.
I think they stopped reporting when the Soviet fell.
Yeah. So listen, everything's going down. But let's keep going.
And the bow of steel shall strike them through.
You look at this. You look at the picture. The bow of steel is this machine, these trucks, and these places where you can sit back here and shoot off these iron weapons, these iron nuclear bombs. Read on.
We're not counting the submarines that have.
There's more to the class. There's a lot in the class left. Let's keep going.
Both U.S. and Russia have 6,000 nukes each.
There we go. So 6,000 nukes just from Russia is going to America, and all the nukes that Britain, France, Germany has, and all the other world is turning their back and shooting America. All simultaneous.
Biblical prophecy.
So, let's continue. Let's keep reading.
Verse 25. It is drawn.
It's drawn. Coordinates are set. We're ready to go. Read on.
And coming out of the body.
He says it comes out of the body also. So let me show how these nukes come out of the body. They come out of military silos. This is an image of a bomb coming out of a military silo out of the mountain ranges in South Dakota. So not all these bombs are coming out of these iron bows. Some are coming from the inside of the body of a mountain range. You sit back here, for those who've been in the military, some people had to be guards for these locations that have these silos in there. Yep. Minot, South Dakota, is a military range that's hollowed out that has nuclear armaments inside of it. Yep. So what he's saying is what? You can't do nothing about it. It's silly. But the military silos is where the nuclear weapons come out of. What does verse 25 say?
Job chapter 20, verse 25. It is drawn and cometh out of the body.
It comes out of the body, and this is the body also. That's a silo.
Wow.
It's coming out in the ground.
Not just
These nuclear bombs are coming out from military silos, from mountain ranges, from underground, and from these military vehicles that are transported with these trucks. If you got 6,000 nukes, they're coming out from all different places.
Under the ocean?
Under the ground. Well, we'll go into that later, because there is a nuclear bomb called the Poseidon.
Yeah.
That the Russians have,
Yeah.
and they're on all their nuclear submarines. There's nuclear submarines that are hovering all around the water that have nukes.
that cannot be detected. And
And
recently,
they can't, because they're nuclear powered, so they can't be detected by satellite radar or sonar.
and they lost it. And recently, this is like years ago, a year ago, they had rush subways all on the coast of California.
They still got them. They still got them in California. They can't detect where they are. So when it's time to unleash these bombs, the submarines are going to be blown out too, with the nuclear bombs, and destroying the coastal cities. You want to get out of Cali if you can, because that place is getting blown to hell. They're going to hit the East Coast and the West Coast with the nuclear submarines. Nuclear submarines in the air, out of the water, out of these silos. You name it. You name it. This is happening. So read verse. Who would have thought that Job, the book of Job, will give you this clear of an explanation about what's going to happen in end times? Who would have thunk it?
Nobody.
Read that. Read verse 25 again.
Job chapter 20 and verse 25. It is drawn and cometh out of the body.
It comes out of the body, the earth, mountain ranges. That's to let you know it's not talking about an arrow. That doesn't come out of the body. Does it make sense? He gives you enough context clues to let you know it's not talking about an arrow. Because the arrow is not iron. Doesn't come out the body. The bow is metal. The bow is steel. What have you heard of a steel bow? You don't. So these are all mechanical references. When you hear about stars falling, stars don't fall. If you sit back and look at science, stars don't fall. But the missiles fall in the nighttime when they see this light moving from one place to another and an explosion when it hits. You see how it all fits in? Read on.
Yea, the glittering sword
Read on.
cometh out of his
Of
gall.
the stomach. The glittering sword is what? We'll go back to another picture of this damn missile. That's glittering. This sword is glittering. The sword is long. It has a handle and a nose to it.
instrument of death.
And when it shoots out, it comes out the stomach, and it's glittering because it's shiny. It's shiny and it's going to hit America. Does that make sense? I hope it makes sense. This is coming to a theater near you.
No,
A city, any town USA. Any town USA. It's coming to you.
That's not the one yet. I don't want to get ahead. That's
You're getting ahead, huh? You're doing ahead, huh? Okay.
Because I don't get ahead, but
I'm gonna get ahead.
not to disrespect, but
You know where I was
disrespect.
going with it.
But let's keep going.
Yea, the glittering sword cometh out of his gall. Terrors are upon us.
Tears are upon America, the wicked man,
Wow.
the wicked country. When them damn arrows are in the air, those nukes are in the air, it is time to pray. This is what he's saying. Read verse 26.
Verse 26. All darkness shall be hid in its secret places. A fire not blown.
Listen, what does it mean by a fire not blown? When you sit back here and create a fire, you got to sit back here and move sticks together and get oxygen under it to get the fire to go. The fire is blown from the mechanical devices.
Right.
He's like, this fire, you don't got to sit back here and take 30 minutes to get the fire going. This fire is mechanically engineered to shoot out. You see fire from the back end of it. The bombs are dispersing out. Does that make sense? Let me see. I'm trying to find a decent image of the fire. No, this is the one. Listen, is some of the fire not blown? That fire, that smoke, where there's smoke, there's what?
Fire.
That smoke, that fire is coming out from the back that's shooting out the missiles. A fire not blown shall consume them. The fire is coming from the back end. The warhead's coming on the front. Read on.
Right. All darkness shall be hid in his secret places. A fire not blown shall consume him. It shall go ill with him that is left in his tabernacle.
His tabernacle is his city, his home, his place of residence. People that are Americans is going to be ill to the people living under his jurisdiction, living in the residence of the wicked nation. He's going to go ill with them that are here. Does that make sense? Let that go. We're going to finish it off in 2nd Esdras. So, all that being said, we read about how the nations are going to turn their back on America, and they're going to sit back and set up all their weapons going towards the west. Now, 2nd Esdras, chapter 15. This is, for all of y'all listening and enduring this light cut off, we apologize. Thank you for hanging in tough. Read verse 39 now.
Okay. 2nd Ezra 15 and 39. And strong wind shall arise from the east, and shall open it. And the cloud which he raised up with wrath, the star stirred to cause fear toward the east, and west wind shall be destroyed.
So he's saying that these military planes holding these nuclear weapons are going to be put in the air and detonated. Read it again from the top.
Come. And strong wind shall arise from the east, shall open it. And
shall open what? Those stars. Those stars are going to get dropped. Okay?
And wind also means destruction.
I know. But the strong destruction is going to rise. And what he's saying, those clouds, those warplanes are going to open these stars. Wow. And we was reading about, verse 35 was saying that the bombs are already being dropped. Then we read in verse 39 or 38 that more people are going to be gathered in this war. Now we're at 39, and it's saying these weapons are going to be coming from the east, and these bombs are going to be opened. Read on. And the cloud which he raised up, the cloud was what? Those warplanes that were raised up in wrath. Read on.
And the cloud which he raised up in wrath, and the star stirred to cause the fear toward the east and to the west.
That star is what? What star causes fear? There was a bunch of stars being extended out and blown in verse 35.
But the star.
What star causes fear?
That's the question.
Nuclear bombs. A nuclear bomb is what causes fear.
Everybody's afraid of that.
Regular Iscanders and bombs, nobody likes it. But the bomb that causes real fear is this big boy. Nobody likes that guy. When that boy's coming out in trucks, and there's also like the real high-end planes are nuclear capable. Like the United States F-35s, Russia's like, we don't really want y'all to be flying these F-35s in Russian airspace because they're nuclear capable. Certain planes are nuclear capable. So there's like these certain clouds, these certain warplanes that are nuclear capable, everybody's shitting bricks at that point. Because these are nuclear capable. These other ones is going to be shooting and taking out certain parts of the city. So you see how there's escalation.
Yeah.
There's more people, there's more fighters, there's more nations being involved. There was bombs early. Now there's this bomb that causes great fear. That's that nuclear bomb. Okay? Now we already read that when it's time to shoot nuclear bombs, all the nations are turning to go to the west. So read verse 39 again.
Come, verse 39. And strong winds shall arise from the east, and shall open it, and the cloud which he raised up in wrath, and the star stirred to cause fear toward the east and to the west wind shall be destroyed.
So this is the situation. All the nations are going to go bomb America, but the United States got what? They got nukes too. So the stars from the west are going where? And the stars from the east are going where? To the west. So this verse is letting us know that all the major cities in the world are going to get hit by nukes.
And so that also means that whole idea of we're going to flee America and hide from
Listen,
the
bro,
world.
we better go in the jungle. And you know, we're going to go on about these jungle folks. What's going to happen to them? It ain't going to be cool either. Nobody's escaping this, man.
Nobody.
So where we're at now, verse 39, is a nuclear holocaust situation. Think about this. When you sit back and look at how the military operates, all the military has their nukes pointed at strategic major cities.
Yep.
That's happening now.
Right.
So if it's Russia, they're pointing it at Moscow, at St. Petersburg. All the major cities in Russia are going to get nuked. Then you got in Russia, in Germany, all the cities. France, all the cities. Britain, all the cities. All the major cities in the United States. LA, New York, DC, San Antonio.
Houston.
Houston.
El Paso.
All those cities, bro.
New Mexico.
Listen, those bombs are pointed at us. So when one nation starts setting it off, everybody's setting it off. Not to mention China, India, all these countries. It's whatever, man. Boop, 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 boop. Nuclear holocaust. That's happening. Man, bro. Let's keep going. Verse 40.
Verse 40. The great and mighty cloud shall be lifted up full of wrath.
These planes that have these nuclear weapons are going to be lifted up full of wrath. Because now it's time for the world to die. Read on.
And the star.
That star, it keeps saying that damn star. He specifies this star. Because this star is serious. This nuclear weapon is serious. How do we know this? We're going to I got to tap into this star real quick. Give me Zechariah 5. It's not in here. I thought I put it in here. I thought I put it in here. That's whack. Okay, Zechariah chapter 5. I got to go here. We're running late as hell, man. Damn it. I'm going to be quick with this. But I got to do this because it'll make sense about what this star is and why he's emphasizing the star the way he's explaining it. Read that.
Come. Verse 1, right?
Yes.
Come. Zechariah chapter 5 and verse 1 reads.
He's going to read to verse 3.
Come. Then I turned and lifted up my eyes and looked, and behold, a flying roll.
This flying roll is not talking about a chariot of the Lord. This flying roll is talking about a nuclear weapon. It's a flying roll. If you sit back here and think about how scrolls were put together, scrolls were put together where it was very thin in the middle, and it was poked out and protruding on the outsides. And that roll is flying in the air. So Zechariah is talking about this flying roll.
Cylinder-like object.
It's a cylinder-like object. Read on.
Come, and behold, a flying roll. And he said unto me, What seest thou? And I answered, I see a flying roll. The length thereof is 20 cubits, and the breadth thereof 10 cubits.
What he's saying is the flying roll is around 30 feet long, 15 feet wide. And that's the size of a mid-size to big nuclear weapon. Like this one in particular, they say it's like, this is a bigger one, 36 meters long. That's like 118 feet. And like 3 meters wide, or the diameter, 3 meters is like 3 times 1.5, like 7 meters wide. He's letting you know that these sizes that's being talked about in verse 2 are nuclear warhead sizes, nuclear bomb sizes. Okay? Now, these all range in different sizes and shapes, whatever the case is, but it's 30 feet long, 15 feet wide. Okay? Read on.
Verse 3. Then said he unto me, This is the curse that goeth forth over the face of the whole earth.
Stop. These nuclear warheads is a curse that goeth forth over the face of the entire earth. Why? It is a curse. Because when that damn nuke hits the ground, it's over. There's no turning back. You're killing millions, and then the nuclear fallout afterwards kills more millions.
Yep.
It's the end game.
And they said
that's why it's a curse. The curse is the nuclear weapons. The chariots isn't a curse. The chariots are deliverance.
Right. That makes sense.
That's how we get delivered. That's a good thing. But these tomboys that are coming out to blow you up, that's not awesome. What's that?
I just wanted to reference that bomb, that 30-foot length. It says the Tsar Bomba. It was made by the Soviets in 1961. It was a thermonuclear aerial bomb and the most powerful nuclear weapon ever created and tested. And it was exactly 26 foot long.
He's letting you know the small ones are 26, 27. The big ones are 118. Well, I don't want to say that. It was 36 meters long. Y'all can do the math on that, but that's bigger than 30 feet long.
Yeah, that's way bigger.
But he's letting you know the small ones are like this size. But these nukes, that's the curse. That comes on Earth. That's how you know when the nukes are out, that's the end game.
no escape.
That's it's time for Christ. That's the curse. Read on.
Come. For everyone that stealeth.
Who steals on a global level?
Esau.
Esau, the white man, steals on a global level. The individual who steals is going to feel the brunt of this curse. Read on.
For everyone that stealeth shall be cut off as on this side according to it.
That's why all these news are going to be going to the man who stole the most, which is America. And all those countries
That support it.
that support it. And listen, and Russia, they stealing too. All the major cities are going to experience nuclear fallout in their major cities. Nobody escapes this. Read on.
And everyone that sweareth shall be cut off as on this side according to it.
Sweareth against the Most High, who puts himself as the Heavenly Father. They're the ones that get cut off, and that means all the nations. So once again, nuclear bomb, stars are coming from the west to the east, stars are coming from the east to the west, and that star is the curse. That's why when you're reading in 2nd Ezra, it emphasizes that star. Because there's a different star in comparison to these other stars that are being dropped during the wartime leading up to these nuclear bombs. Does that make sense? Yes, I.
I have a question to ask you. Didn't they used to teach that old Israel that was the chariots, but that never made sense to me.
But now we're here. We got to keep going. We got it.
But
You're saying it's correct.
Also, in Genesis, the earth was destroyed by what?
Water,
In Revelation, the earth was destroyed by what?
fire, and we're gonna go into there's different levels of different types of fire. It's fires from these nuclear bombs. Then we're gonna read about the fire that comes from Christ. That's gonna be next week. But we ain't done. So let's go. Verse 40 again.
God, 2nd Ezra 15 and 40. The great and mighty cloud shall be lifted up full of wrath, and the star, that they may make up all the earth afraid.
He says the star that makes the whole earth afraid. That's a nuclear bomb.
What else could it be?
It ain't the Milky Way.
I'm scared of that.
That Orion's belt. You better watch out. That don't make any
Your
sense.
lucky number today is going to be 7 and 3 and 45. You are going to be a Taurus.
That's what I'm saying. The star that everybody's afraid of is the nuclear damn bombs.
Exactly.
Read on.
And them that dwell therein.
Yep.
And they shall pour out over every high and eminent place and horrible star.
Every eminent city.
Wow.
There's going to be a horrible star that hits Paris, France, London, England, Moscow, Germany, all the fancy spots in Germany. All the major cities are going to get a nuclear bomb there, hit there. Every capital city. Every major city. LA, New York, Houston, San Antonio. All these cities are going to get hit. That's what the scriptures say. Are we making this up? The scriptures are doing the talking for us. Read on.
Fire and hail and flying swords.
Hell yeah, fire is going to be coming out from all these nuclear explosions. Read on. The hell is coming from all this stuff coming from the sky, hitting the ground. Read on. Is it flying swords? What is a flying sword? It's more bombs. It's more bombs. Read on.
And it's like fire and hail and flying swords and many waters, that all fields may be full.
Listen, it says many waters is going to be rising up too. And there's going to be bombs coming from the water. We talked about that earlier. Listen, do I have it here? I think I have it. Yeah. The Poseidon torpedo, which comes out of the damn the Poseidon torpedo that comes out of the water, it's 100 megatons. It's 100 megatons coming out of the water. No, yeah, 100 megatons poundage is going to be coming out of the water to destroy the world too. It's going to be bombs from the damn water, bombs from the sky. This place is getting wiped off the face of the earth. There is another verse that tells you Babylon is going to get broken up in 3 pieces. Because of all of these explosions, the ground can't keep. It's going to split off. Remember that? That was a fear that California was going to branch off and go on the water in the Pacific Ocean? That's going to happen, G. That's splitting off. This country is going to get split in 3 pieces, and that's in the scriptures too. We will get there. I know it was kind of slow, but we had to kind of get up to the good stuff. You know what I mean? We had to build it up. So, let's sit back here. Read verse 41 again.
Fire and hail and flying swords and many waters, that all fields may be full, and all rivers with the abundance of great water.
That means there's going to be overflow coming from there. Everything's going to be full. That water's coming on the ground, on the earth. Read on.
And they shall break down the cities.
Nope.
And
that's all I want. 41 is all I want. We can go further, but it's almost 11. It's 11 o'clock.
It's a good note.
We're going to stop it off there. This is a scary note to go off. Are there any questions?
Nah.
Yeah.
Was it confusing? Was it clear?
Clear ice water.
Okay, yes, sir. Ice water's kind of cloudy, though, man, because it's ice. I'm just messing with you. What you got?
I could really see that the clouds, because first thing I was thinking chariots, but what makes so sense, the way that technology is going and how fast it is, we probably will not have, well, I'm 60, I'm not sure.
But it said clouds are fighting each other in verse 30, 34,
No, I'm not
35.
questioning that, but my thing is that we're not going to even recognize those planes. And when you say how horrifying the planes are,
Yeah.
the technology is so fast, it's not going to look like nothing that we've ever seen.
Got it.
You know?
So listen, we have way more to go. We didn't even get a chance to finish this class, but we will tomorrow next week, and we'll continue on the next phase of it. To all of you tuning in, y'all. I know we push y'all late. Thank y'all. We'll see you guys on Wednesday. Shalom, y'all.